Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S. here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, Season 4, the final season, Episode 12. So, as we usually do, let me go up in here. We're going to put up the logo as well as I'm also going to put in the topics for tonight in the comments. But as y'all are coming in, y'all let me know how y'all doing, how y'all feeling, and what's the word. Shout outs to Rye. I see you in here, my G. What's the word? As well as Santi. What's good, my G? What's the word? Let me know what's happening. Shouts out to Evil Emperor Serbs in the building. Go check this brother out. Gonna be chopping it up with him very soon for a more interview. So check that brother out as well. Again, as y'all coming in, y'all let me know how y'all doing, how y'all feeling, and what's the word. And let me know if y'all can hear me. If we good, thumbs up, yes, whatever it may end up being. Give me some feedback. I appreciate it. And shouts out to those who are already here, as well as those who are going to be watching this later, whether if you're here on Instagram, YouTube, and any other social media place. But on YouTube, go ahead and support your brother and subscribe at A.D.V.I.S. Speaks. A.D.V.I.S. Speaks is the page. Just support. There's more to go, more content that's coming there. So just drop it. Just let me know. YouTube do their thing, but I want to do my thing as well. So peep it out. All right, for sure. Thank you. Just making sure we good. I'm grateful for it. And shouts out Kundan, I see you in here. What's the word? Appreciate you. Thank you for popping in. Exquisite Trees Apparel in the building. What's going on? What's the word? Thank you for popping in. So, as everybody's still coming in, again, y'all let me know how y'all doing, how y'all feeling, and what's the word. Whether everything is good, whether if there's challenges that's up ahead, or you just had a word you wanted to say. Fantastic, beautiful, whatever it is. Pop it in here. As well as those who are new to this, welcome to What's the Word Wednesdays, where we come in here, we have different topics, we build as a community together, and really just wanting to know what's the word, what's happening. So, for tonight's episode 12, first thing we're going to be doing, as we usually do, is we're going to go over current events. So that means I'm going to talk about a few news reports. If y'all have any news reports that y'all want to share, throw them down in the comments. It's much appreciated. We can just touch on it because, again, we got to know what's happening and what's the word around the world. Globally, locally, whatever it may be. Got to stay informed. Then second, we're going to be talking about the topic of the wise versus the fool. And just go back and forth, tit for tat, talking about that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about, does knowledge and truth truly set you free? And then that's going to be today's show. But with that being said, let's go ahead and let's do the show song and we'll get into these current events. But we appreciate y'all. So let's get it. And it's the show song. Eventually it's going to be a real song. So you ain't got to worry about me having to sing it and then sing along. But it goes like this. What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? Tell them like, what's the word? What's the word? What you heard? We gotta know, yeah, what's the word? Once again, y'all, it's your brother A.D.V.I.S. And we are here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, Season 4, the final season, Episode 12. I'm not going to put up 12 fingers. Y'all already know, man. Dirty dozen, 12, whatever it is. But again, shouts out to everybody who's up here in the comments. I appreciate y'all so much. I really appreciate the love. Y'all don't know how much energy this is and how much you're giving to me. So thank you for stopping in, whether if it's 1 second, 10 seconds, however long. I appreciate you. So again, for tonight, we're going to go over current events. Then we're going to talk about the wise versus the fool. And then lastly, we're going to talk about, does knowledge and truth truly set you free? And before I hop into these current events, I'm going to go ahead and look at these comments, and then we're going to keep it going. All good over here. Yo, I had to set up my life Friday. Hey, I'm grateful I came through and just filmed it, man. I'm glad that I was able to capture it so then you can envision and see it back, man. So I appreciate it, as well as the support too in the pockets, man. I really do appreciate that. Then we have one over here. It says the Hindu-phobic California bill, SB 403, has passed. All needed committees is now going back to the Senate to approve all the amendments. Then Governor Newsom will have 12 days to sign it or veto it. Thank you for the update. For those who don't know, again, you can look up the California bill. It's the SB 403 and get information into that. Really talking about the caste system, talk about how it's not of Hindu origin. I mean, Kundan, we can talk later about it and you can really give us the spill again. But as well as I did purchase the book. It's gonna be coming in a little bit, but we'll talk on that in a bit. But yeah, it said breaking bread with your peers shows you really rock with you or not. I greatly appreciate your services, my G. Grateful. I'm glad, man. I have the same sentiment when it comes to stuff. So we all here, my G. Whatever we can get, we can get. Right. With that being said, we're supposed to get into these current events. Let's do it. So for my folks who don't necessarily want to stay in and hear about some news, y'all want to know about the topics and that conversation, I'm going to speak on the news for about 20 minutes. So if you want to come back in after 20 minutes, then we'll be should on to the next topic. If not, stick around with me. We're going to talk about some news because I know everybody's busy. But with that being said, let's get into some current events. So I got a few articles today I want to talk about. After these articles, I'm just going to give a spill of other different titles you can check up. But the first one that I have for you guys, because I've been hearing not only that we had the hurricane back way when, but now in Florida, another one has happened and there's a lot of destruction. So the first article that popped into for me to read comes from the Washington Post. And the article reads, in particular, it reads, after I play this song, in Florida, A.D.V.I.S., if I'm saying that right, leaves a trail of destruction and a sense of relief. So when it comes to these articles too, I just read one paragraph, not one, we read 3 paragraphs, and then we're out. Shouts out to you, my G. Sergio. What's love? What's good? Thank you so much for coming through, my G. What's the word? So 3 paragraphs and we out. Article reads, Tim Delano didn't even consider leaving his home as Hurricane Idalia, if I'm saying it correct, Idalia. Y'all come here, I also butcher words. Approached this week. His family has been in Cedar Key, a little island city in the Gulf of Mexico, for 5 generations, and they have weathered dozens of storms. And it talks about people, why you stay, why you don't leave. His house is half a block from the water, but is now on the ridge that rises 20 feet above sea level, and a vantage point that gave him confidence even as the storm sped through. The cedar tree is in front of his yard, lost a few branches, but other than some debris, there wasn't much to clean up. So this is a little bit of an opinion piece, but in particular, it says electricity was still out for most of the area. About almost 7,000 people were living on the coastal Taylor County. Massive pines and oaks littered the trees on Wednesday, some pulling down power lines and puncturing holes in the roofs in businesses and homes. So there's a lot of destruction going on. But roughly, I just want to send my condolences, as well as I want to send out more safety and love to my folks out in Florida. Please stay safe. Those close to the Gulf of Mexico. All of that being said, as well as, I know this is not pertaining to this, but any folks who are dealing with a lot of natural disasters right now, I know Hawaii has had a big stint with that, and here have Florida. Anyone else around in the world, I'm sending out my love and sending out strength and safety. But that was the first article. If you want to read more on this in particular, again, this comes from the Washington Post. Headline reads, in Florida, A.D.V.I.S., leaves a trail of destruction and a sense of relief. I'm on Hooked on Phonics, so just letting you know. But let's see, we got a lot that's going on all up in here, so let me see what's happening. There's also ridiculous racist new law in South Dakota. I did see that you shared that if you're late for school 3 times according to the law, you're a criminal. It targets indigenous children. They've really been going at South Dakota, North Dakota, really South Dakota a lot ever since all of the pickets and protests way back when. Y'all forgot about that, the pipeline and everything. So, not y'all forgot, just a reminder. But yes, says Trump indictment in Georgia with a mugshot on RICO charges and election interference, 19 other co-defendants. Yes, I'm actually seeing another article I'm about to talk about right now that actually includes Trump. So I appreciate the sharing. Shouts out to J So Knight in the building. What's good, my G? Peace and love. Your boy Notes. Yeah, I heard about Hurricane. Yes, U.S. California also had Hurricane Hillary. Yeah, the only place that really got affected in Cali, y'all. If anybody who does not live in Cali, just letting you know, I'm closer to Southern California. Where we were at, the most affected area that I saw actually was Dodger Stadium. That's Highland Park. Dodger Stadium almost was sunken. From the outside, it literally was full, but not to the point where the stadium had water pouring into it. But it was ridiculous. But other than that, there wasn't really much anything else. I didn't get no damage on this side anywhere. We had some rolling earthquake shocks, but nothing too crazy. I mean, at least in this southern part of California. Yeah, we had a small earthquake too. Yeah, that's what really was going on. It's just those little pieces there. But with that, let's get to the next article. I'm loving this though, but let's get to the next article. The next one comes from Redders, and the article title reads, New York says Trump should be found liable for fraud even before a trial. Again, I'm going to read 3 paragraphs, and we're out. I'm going to read the rest. I'll repeat, and you'll know. Article reads, New York's Attorney General on Wednesday asked a state judge to declare, even before the start of a trial, that Donald Trump committed fraud by submitting false statements to bankers and insurers, and overstating his net worth by up to $2.23 billion. In the filings with a state court in Manhattan, Attorney General Letitia James said evidence in her civil case showed repeated and persistent fraudulent use by Trump and his family business of false and misleading financial statements from 2011 all the way to 2021. James said inflating values of more than a dozen assets by hundreds of millions of dollars estimated the defendant's liability for fraud under the state's executive law. And in this suit, $250 million is being sought for all of this. And then in this separate case, it says in this case is separate from the 4 criminal indictments that Trump, age 77, faces as he seeks a second White House term, including 2 for attempting to reverse his 2020 election loss. So he's still all up in the headlines. But if you want to read more about this liable for fraud case before the trial, article came from Redders. Headline reads, New York says Trump should be found liable for fraud even before a trial. Yes, y'all. I'm going to read 2 more articles, and the other ones I'm going to just breeze through and just give you the headlines or just the names. And I want you to go through if you want to. If it pops out to you, read about it. Again, it's all about informing. This is what the news is for. So that's where we at. But okay, next one I got for y'all. It's a fact check one. I haven't heard too much about this, but there has been, of course, spikes of Again, COVID coming and popping back up. Now, this article comes from USA Today, and the headline reads, claim linking Pfizer COVID-19 shot or vaccine, cancer in mouse distorts study. It's a fact check. So again, 3 paragraphs and out. So, an August 20th Instagram post shows 2 dissected mice and their internal organs are there. They're out there. The post received more than 1,000 likes in 9 days, similar to the ones found on X, also formerly known as Twitter. In July, was reshared 10,000 times. Their rating for this is that this is false information. There is no evidence that COVID-19 vaccines cause cancer. The post distorts a case report focused on a mouse that passed away from lymphoma after it was given a second dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine during a study. The report did not claim the 2 events were causally linked. Let me read that one more time so y'all can, with reading stuff, you piece the certain pieces together. So it said it was false. There is no evidence that COVID-19 vaccines cause cancer. The post distorts a case report focused on a mouse that passed away of lymphoma after it was given a second dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine during a study. The report did not claim the 2 events were causally linked. So there's just key ways to read it. That's all I'm saying. So it's not about this part, but it's about this part. And it's not connected, but something in between doesn't make sense. Now you can read more of the reason why they're reporting evidence on why this is false. They give more findings and you can share it there. So if you want to read more, article comes from USA Today. Headline reads, claim linking Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, cancer in mouse distorts study. There's so many different studies. At this point, you got to really read it with a very critical eye, with a close lens. So these next ones, I'm just going to read the titles. If y'all want more information, you'll check them out here. But these are things that popped into my mind, or I should say popped into my mind. They were on the feed and it caught my attention. This next one again comes from USA Today, and the headline reads, as new BA.2.86 COVID variant emerges, America lifts middle finger to the same old mandates. So there's another, again, variant that is out there that is pursuing. Honestly, this is my first time hearing about more is coming out. I've been hearing about the same ones that's been over repeated. But if you want to read more about this, I'm not going to go too much into details about this, but you can look up Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and you'll get your information. But again, this article came from USA Today. Headline reads, as new BA.2.86 COVID variant emerges, America lifts middle finger to the same old mandates. I'll come back. Come back. All right. Now, I thought this one was interesting and I wanted to share because we know how the cost of living is getting crazy, especially worldwide and in the U.S. in particular. So this article comes from CNBC, and the headline reads, the salary a single person needs to get by in every U.S. state. I'm going to read just 5 of those states that they have posted, and you can see why there is still such a big push, not only for raising and wages, but at the same time, the cost of living to somehow giving a break. I know meat, still the percentage of poultry and all the other foods is just skyrocketed, as well as it's skyrocketed to a point where they've already in California approved for you to eat lab grown chicken. You don't believe me? It's there. Look up the information about it. There's lab grown chicken now that you can eat. It's just, what's natural anymore? What's quote unquote organic anymore? Y'all let me know. Because at this point, everything's trying to get distorted. GMO versus non-GMO. Right. Back to that. Article reads, the salary a single person needs to get by in every state. And I'm only going to read 5. So, the first one they have, it says Hawaii. You need to have 112,411. So basically, you need to be making 6 figures, almost in about 120,000 for one person to get by in Hawaii. Second, in Massachusetts, you have to make at least 87,909, basically rounded up $90,000 as one person to just get by. Third, California, which honestly, I don't even think that this is honestly true. I think it's more. And y'all can let me know, my Californians that's in here. But it says you need $80,013 to get by in Cali. Honestly, for me, it's almost close up to 100,000 for one person. How expensive these rental homes, as well as lofts, apartments. To me, that's not doing it justice. Same thing for New York. Right here, they said to make it by one person in New York, it says $73,226 for one person. That to me is also still incorrect. We know how expensive New York is. It's between New York, California, Atlanta. It's like at least like 4 or 5 different places that is extremely high when it comes to that. I mean, and then Hawaii's being another one. But I think New York, again, also up there about 120,000 for me when it comes to just one person. I heard they had apartments almost ranging for about $4,000 a month. $4,000 a month just to live. That's not even including your food. That's not including your transportation, amenities, all of that. It's ridiculous. And then the last one, Alaska. To live out in Alaska, very cold Alaska, you need $71,570. Roughly, you need about between $72,000 to about $75,000 as one person to live out there. We're not even talking about as a family. If we talk about a family, a lot of this stuff not only doubles, but almost triples. And you wonder why people are talking about needing to get 2 to 3 different jobs just to get by. Need to be an Uber driver. Need to end up doing Grubhub, end up Uber Eats, end up doing Instacart on top of doing a 9 to 5, and then also having your side hustle. It's just a nation of working and working and working until you drop, just so that you can be at home to then just spend all your money on just getting by. That's what a job, just over broke job. But yeah, no more of me on that. But again, if you want to read more into this article comes from CNBC, and the headline reads, the salary a single person needs to get by in every U.S. state. Sorry for my folks out there all around the world globally. I honestly should look into that another time and see, because there's always the exchanges and currencies and, you know, knowing the money and the particular values. But I would think Europe probably is around a little more expensive because their currency's stronger than the dollar. But let's not go into all of that. All right. These next ones, I'm just reading the topics, and we just going to keep it moving. This next article topic comes from Science Alert, and the headline reads, brain autopsies reveal potential new culprit behind Alzheimer's disease. For my folks with talking about Alzheimer's disease, it's under the umbrella of dementia in these different areas. But again, if you want to read about this, again, Science Alert, headline reads, brain autopsies reveal potential new culprit behind Alzheimer's disease. I'm going to keep that one up for myself. Since we talk about money, CNBC article reads, 28-year-old side hustle makes up to $113,500 per year, and it only costs $50 to start. If you want to look it up, again, CNBC headline reads, 28-year-old side hustle makes up to $113,500 per year, and it only costs $50 to start. I'm also going to say that one as well. Bam. So I'm going to read these. Some of them I read, and some of them I read alongside with us as we're here. Another article reads Indy 100, and the title reads Part of the Sun is Broken and Scientists Are Baffled. Because I don't know if y'all know right now, but in Cali, and y'all see I'm kind of sweating a bit, man. I don't know what's going on. Like, the end of the summer is trying to really hit, and it's just humid. There's no breeze. Like, it's still around, of course, in the high 80s going into 90s, but it's just no breeze. But it's hot. I'm telling y'all now. But again, if you want to read on it, Indy 100 is where it comes from. Headline reads, Part of the Sun is Broken and Scientists Are Baffled. And other than that, y'all, I'm not going to read any from NPR, but if y'all want to read more news and figure out other titles, you can go to www.npr.org, which is organization. I'm not sponsored. This is just another place I also grab and get information news-wise from. So if you want more news there, www.npr.org. But with that being said, that was the news portion. I appreciate y'all popping in, being in here for the news. So before we do move on to the news, if anybody else has any other things that they want to share, please put them down in the comments. Kundan, I got you. Once you pop up in here and we start talking, I'm going to allow you to, and I want you to elaborate more on the other topics that you brought up news-wise. But if anybody else has any topics or news that they want to share, please put it down in the comments before we move to the next topic. And make sure you hydrate. And if I didn't say it earlier, shouts out to my brother Rube. This is his shirt for his project that dropped, Picture Perfect View. You can peep that on all streaming platforms right now. My boy Rube, RVBE. It's my boy Rube. But all right. With that being said, let's go ahead. We're going to move to the second topic. And before I can even jump into the second topic, I got to give my disclaimer. So, disclaimer. I appreciate the love, the support, people coming through, sharing their thoughts, and putting it down in the comments. As much as I like staring at this screen and being able to speak my thoughts and say what I do say on the day ends during this day on Wednesdays, I would love to see y'all's face and actually build from the conversation there. If you do plan on wanting to join the live, just to let you know that this will be saved. This is a live recording that will be saved on Instagram and YouTube and other places. If you're not comfortable with that, then it's fine. You can stay in the comments. If you are comfortable, then just know that this will be placed on every different and other platforms. So you do waive the right, just letting you know. And that's the disclaimer. With that being said, let's get into the second topic. And the second topic that we got for tonight, we're going to be talking about the wise versus the fool. Now, while I'm looking at this stuff and I'm putting more things up, when you hear the wise or just being wise, what are some words that pop into your mind? Put them down in the comments. And at that same time, while you're thinking about words, when you hear the word wise, when you hear the word fool, what are some words or phrases that come to mind? Put them down in the comments while I'm going to pull up and get these definitions going. Let me slow it down for y'all. So as y'all are putting that in there, I'm going to read a little bit so then we can put the context of where we're going to go with this topic. I got a few stuff I want to add with it, so just know that we got it and we there. So when it comes to the word wise, again, I'm reading these from the Webster's. So Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Shouts out to the sister Chris. We're going to go through and I'm going to read just definitions from there. And then the same thing, I'm going to read the ones for the fool, and we're going to build around, okay, the conversation about what we talk about when it comes to the wise versus the fool. So, wise, the first thing they have for it is an adjective. First definition says, characterized by wisdom, marked by deep understanding, keen discernment, and a capacity for sound judgment. Sound judgment. The B part of that, exercising or showing sound judgment, being prudent. Definition 2, evidencing or hinting at the possession of inside information. So knowing. So being wise is having that inside information, aka knowing. B side of that, possessing inside information. So you have that inside information. That could be inner wisdom. That could be you're in an organization and you know about these new products that are coming out, but you can't share it with other people. You're wise on knowing this. You got this insider information. The C side of that is being crafty, being shrewd. Another one, aware of or informed about a particular matter. Usually used in the comparative and negative constructs with the. So for example, was none the wiser about their plans. So basically being aware of your particular matter that you're talking about. Appreciate you. Wise, knowledge, full, arrogant. Exactly. What's going on, Chris? Peace and love. I see you up in here. What's the word? Another one. Insolent, smart alecky, fresh. These are interesting words that they're using still. And this is the adjective. Wise has a lot of definitions. It does. And then the definition that they used to have, which I think is pretty cool. It's an old word. It says archaic, which means this is a definition not used anymore for wise. And it says skilled in magic or divination, or divination, I should say. That's interesting. Skilled in magic or divination for being wise. Wise, wizard, dealing with magic. Think about this. All right. The verb of wise, we're still on wise. It's crazy. It says to become informed or knowledgeable. So this is the action of becoming wise. Second one, to give instruction or information to, which this is teach. The other one is learn. This one is teach. Usually used with up. So to wise him up about the procedures, to teach. Now, wise as a noun basically means a manner and a way. They have more verbs: direct, guide, advise. Not my word, not my name, A.D.V.I.S.S, but advise, as well as persuade. And then words that combine with having wise. So like streetwise, clockwise. Shouts out to clockwise. It means in the manner of, in the position or direction of, with regard to, in respect of. Very interesting. But these are all for wise. It's an adjective, it's a verb, it's a noun, as well as it's also an adverb combining form. So much stuff just to say wise. So you gotta be understood. You gotta understand which wise are we using. Right. The next one, we got fool. Same thing with fool. We have a noun version, an adjective, and we also have a verb. Don't worry, it's not going to continue to be a whole school lesson. It's just the English language in particular, for different words, it has so many definitions. So we got to make sure, what are we talking about? So for fool, the noun, it says a person lacking in judgment or prudence. The second one, a retainer, formerly kept in great households to provide casual entertainment and commonly dressed in motley with cap, bell, and I think that's a babble or bobble. Another part of that is one who is victimized or made to appear foolish. So duping somebody. A person lacking in common powers of understanding or wisdom is a fool. One with a marked propensity or fondness of something. So you can be a fool, a dancing fool, a fool for candy. So in a sense of you have not only attraction to something, but yeah, he's like, I'm a sucker. You get it? So like, I'm a sucker for this. I'm a sucker for love. In this particular case, using the same instance of talking about a fool. So you're a fool for this particular thing because you got so much love and either respect or just time for it. Now, fool as an adjective, explaining something. Foolish, silly. So fool as an adjective is foolish, silly. Now, fool as a verb, it says to behave foolishly, to meddle, temper, or experiment, especially with thoughtlessness or ignorantly. To fool around with. To play or improvise a comedic role. So to play the fool in a role. To be funny. To be the, for me, the class clown. I used to be the class clown. So I played the fool in the class just because. The comedic relief as well as I wanted the attention. Be honest. To play, to contend or fight without serious intent or with less than full strength. To toy or play around. So just to fool around. So as kids just playing around and not really meaning to want to fight, but then somebody takes it too far and then it becomes what it wasn't supposed to be, but to fool around. But those is everything from wise to fool. I'm going to keep both of these up because there's multiple definitions, but at least now we know the differences. But in this particular case, when we're talking about the wise and we're talking about the fool, so we're speaking on someone who is still looking for growth and information and another that has found it and is applying it and using it. That's really where I want to go with this wise and fool concept. But now, when I think of a fool and I think of someone who's wise, it always brings me back to looking at different quotes and really speaking on really the differences in perspective. Because honestly, that's all that a lot of this is. It's all perspective. To some people, I could be seen as a fool. To others, I could be seen as someone who's wise. But one of my favorite quotes when it comes to that is literally, a wise man knows that he is a fool, but a fool knows that he's not a wise. Of course, I'm not putting it exactly pinpoint of what it is. But that's how I really look at life, information, and my own perspectives of stuff is that I don't know everything, and I don't want to claim to know that I know everything. And even if I do have information and some type of knowledge in a topic, I always say still, I want you to go and do your own research and find your own conclusions on stuff. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these things and where we are, what we watch, what we listen to, what we read, these are all perspectives, opinions, and evidence from other folks. And when we take in all of that information from other people, we learn from other folks, and we don't put our own critical eye, our own spin on why it makes sense for us, or that this information applies to me because I've used it in this particular way, is because we just took the information for what it is. It's just the information there. Versus, okay, why does that information make sense to me? I know my friend Johnny, I know my friend Sarah, I know my friend talked about this. I heard information about this. I'm just going to believe them on it. Then you go around having another person's perspective from hearsay. Not saying that that person could be quote unquote credible, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to decipher this information for yourself as well. Because the more that you are able to break it down in your own terms and then share it out with other people, that's when you know you've truly understood what was learned to you, that you can break it down to your own experiences and then share it back out. That's what happens when someone who becomes wise. That's what wisdom is. Knowledge is basically the information. Wisdom is the application of that knowledge. So going out and actually getting experience to use it. Now, on the flip side, when thinking about it from the perspective of being a fool, it's almost to a sense of not knowing better, but at the same time, a key word that was in there that I always bring back up to people too is the word ignorance, and doing it in an ignorantly way. So the fool, honestly, in a fool in his own sense, his or her, whoever's own sense, knows things, but because of the word ignorance, has the word ignore in the middle of it, they know about this information, but they still choose to do the opposite. They have a conscious choice to be able to take that information in and fully understand it and understand it, but decide, you know what? I know this is good for my health, that I don't actually eat or buy this particular product, but I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to do it just because maybe I want to follow the trends of other people. Maybe because I'm just not ready to take that step. I don't know how I can take that step. Or I'm just comfortable. It's me. I'm just going to be me regardless. So what, you give me good information, I still want to go that way. So saying, are they lacking in the knowledge, or they are lacking in the knowledge? That is very true. That is very true. But the action again of a fool, I'm gonna say it again. I like to use the verb because it gives you the action of why somebody is in the sense of being foolish. And it says to behave foolishly, to meddle, to tamper. When you meddle and tamper with things and you experiment, especially, again, it's saying thoughtlessly or ignorantly, you're being told this information. You know it full hand. It's right, not know, but again, you're told this information full hand. It's right in front of you. Whether it could be a book, whether it can be a video, whether it can be a song, whether if it is physically there. But you still decide to be like, okay, I don't want to listen to that first part of it. I might take in the second part of it. And the last part, I've heard about that before. Nah, I'm good. And because this is one thing that I do notice, and I'm also speaking on my own experiences, because kids, sometimes we get into a space, even older in our age, that we know it. Like, oh, I already had this information here. There's nothing else that somebody can actually tell me. I already know it. And what ends up happening is we create and we only pick out what we want, which is selective hearing, or just being selective in general of what works for me and what doesn't work for me, in a sense of that it actually is doing the opposite. It's actually hurting. And what I mean by that is, just because of the fact that I don't want to do the work on something, I know that it can help, but I decide, at least I can tell somebody else, yeah, my friend told me about this, but it's whatever. You can use it if you want, but nah, it doesn't work for me. So I didn't feel like doing that. Rather than, again, getting informed about it and just using it to help yourself out, rather than honestly just letting it go from one ear and out to the other ear. But yeah, let me see. It says, the wise learn from their life lessons and evolves them. A fool will continue to use their life lessons as an excuse and dissolve. What a wonderful, thank you for that. That is, in short of really a lot of what I'm saying, it just rings true. As well as it's a great visual. I can just see the visual of it. Somebody elevating while somebody's dissolving. Looking like the Wicked Witch of the West, just dissipating and evaporating. It's interesting. I don't know why I just thought about that. But speaking of her, on a side note, Hurricane Hillary out here. I saw a video of a woman who was speaking, and she misused a word. Instead of saying precipitation, and the water is coming down, she kept saying evaporation. So yeah, it's evaporating out here. There's so much evaporation. And in that particular sense, I'm not necessarily saying that that applies to her being a fool or anything. But again, this is the unknowingly of how to use a concept. That's somebody in a particular case that, you know, was just a misuse of the concept. They wanted to use the concept, but it was a misuse of it. Now, when I'm thinking of a fool, the action still is proceeding for another result. Whether if that is for entertainment purposes, whether if that is actually a way for them to escape from the information, because that conflicting information that you share with them is actually making them challenge their known beliefs, thoughts, values, and it's too much for them to a point where that's why they temper, they move, and they meddle with this information, because that's a step that they're not ready to take. So again, the lessons are used as an excuse. Shouts out to the brother, Santi. And then they dissolve. It really breaks you down, rather builds you up. And life is about multiple learned lessons. And it's all up to you if you're going to continue to get that one up, or you're going to keep getting hit by all the creatures that's down below. Shouts out to Mario. And that's not even trying to rap. Bars. It says, yeah, I have a brother-in-law who's in the chola phase. Ooh, acts like she's lived it, but chooses to wanna be the vet, but is cringe. I hear that. A lot of that does come down to, again, there's something that is missing. Remember, it's a lack of. Shouts out to Alien Space Queen. There's a lack of something that is there. And just because there's a lack of something there doesn't mean that you're less than. It doesn't mean that you can never get that information. It just means that you are aware that there is something I am missing. For example, you can buy, I don't know, I'm just using the concept of you buy a puzzle. You can start putting all the pieces together, not know where to put the pieces, but you taking the time to figure it out and place it where it goes, you'll start to figure out the patterns. Even though you're missing the full picture, just because you're putting it together doesn't mean you're eventually going to get that picture. It's just all a matter of, again, is that what you want to go for? If it doesn't, or you don't. So for a person who is coming into learning and using their lessons and their experiences to gain that wisdom, regardless of the struggle, they will continue to put the pieces together. On the flip side, the person who's seeing it from as a fool, they'll look at the pieces, look at the box, don't even care for it as a reference. Be like, all right, throw away the box. Look at the pieces. Start trying to put some of the pieces together and actually throw some of those pieces out. Because it's like, why does it look like the same piece? Nah, this is the same piece too. Why does it look like that? And they're getting rid of pieces. And then as they're trying to put it together, they're wondering why I can't see the picture. Why are there pieces missing? There shouldn't be no pieces missing. But the ones that you just threw out that you thought was the same isn't necessarily wasn't the same. So when it comes also to our experiences, the reason why sometimes people be like, why am I repeating the same cycle? Why am I going up against the same thing that just happened? I just saw this. And I just thought about this right now. It's because those people are running into that cycle of what we call insanity. They think if they keep doing the same thing over and over, something new is going to happen. The same process is going to bring a different result, when that is not the case. I cannot juggle 6 objects if I don't have 6 objects. And I can't get mad that I'm not juggling 6 objects when I haven't even had the 6 objects. And I will never have those 6 objects if I don't go get the 6 objects. So you already started off putting yourself in the impossible category.
What's the word? Oh man, I have to try again. Sorry. It didn't, I can't hear you.
Can y'all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me now. Put a 1 if you can hear me. Let me pop this back in here. Hopefully it's not an echo. But y'all tell me. Can you hear me? Maybe 2.5. Okay. Let's try this one more time. I just plugged in my headphones. I just plugged in my headphones this time. Now can you hear me? I just want to know. Yeah. This is my new page, G. Yeah, nah. It's not a new page. This is a whole other page that you haven't had. That I've never seen before. You're just here. Yeah, you're just here, my man. Notes. You goofy. Of course I know it's a new page. No, it's a new page, okay? My goodness. Well, much love to you. Much love. All right, let's try this one more time. Let's see if it's gonna work. Because Instagram might be tripping with the voices.
There we go. I can hear you. Hey, what's the word?
What's going on?
Nothing much. I'm ready to get into this discussion. I do have good news.
All right, update me. What's going on?
I'm back.
Oh, you in Cali now?
I've been in Cali since last Wednesday.
Oh, snap. Okay.
I'm back. I'm in, you know, the spot.
Well, you already know. It's about time. You already know what's gonna happen, though.
Yes, I love it. You were like getting in on the, I love the
Yeah.
definition. So I was like walking around listening. The definition for wise in terms of being in tune with divination and
Yes.
magic. Cause like, oh my God, because I'm really on my Lord of the Rings ish right now. Like,
Of course. Of
I
course.
really am, and so that makes me when I think of wise, I think of Gandalf because of the not only like the divination, but also knowing, having the knowledge, shared knowledge, experience, and even the wisdom to not act sometimes. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, to like let certain things unfold, let the pieces fall in. You have to be wise enough to sometimes not, you know, you got to let people do what they got to do and then circumnavigate. So I was just like, ooh, magic. You know, I hear magic. I get all like, ears are up. I'm listening.
Yeah. The thing is, the thing is that you have that is the archaic definition, though.
Arcade. Like, yeah, in games. Yeah.
Yeah, not an arcade game, but
Oh,
archaic as in
Arcadian, like oh, archaic. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's
sorry.
archaic. So
Sorry.
it's a definition it's not even
Archaic.
used. Yeah, not
Gotcha.
yes. So it's a definition that's not again, it's not used anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still telling of
Exactly.
what the word was. If y'all don't know, and shouts out again, shouts out to Random Thoughts Talk series. If y'all want to learn about the power of words, I'm telling y'all, our first episode back this Sunday, that's what we're gonna be talking about. Because I'm telling you,
Nice.
these power or these words and what we speaking in these definitions, you see why a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. I'm not gonna get too deep into all of that. Y'all can get that for Sunday, but of course, if it still applies, it will apply. But what you got for it, Chris? What you thinking about when it comes to the wise versus the fool?
I
Three is the
I
magic number.
definitely think it's everything's on the spectrum, but they're one and the same, just on
Mm,
opposite ends of the spectrum. So that's kind of how I think of the wise and the fool.
yeah,
And I know that you were talking more so on the fact that the fool more so receives knowledge and denies it, or does not heed it or take it in. It can also, I the reason why I threw in there like lack of the knowledge is because
yeah,
sometimes you may end up a fool because you just don't have the resources, or it hasn't come to you yet, because everything is all in divine timing. So you may be a fool
divine
for
timing.
you may be a fool for a while, and sometimes you have to go through playing the role of the fool to
Yeah,
become, wise. So I think they go hand in hand. I don't think one is like better than the other. It's all on a spectrum. If we're like thinking graphs, number lines, one end to the other.
it is. The thing is, it's all. I always take it back to. I talk about the law of neutrality all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I always take it back to thinking of it in that aspect, because at the end of the day, everything in itself is neutral until you put your intention behind it. So you
Mm-hmm.
can you can
Mm-hmm.
be the fool, but it doesn't mean that you're the fool in the sense of your intent. Your intention is to just wreak havoc on just I don't want to know any of this. No,
Mm-hmm.
you can be the fool again in your sense of how you speaking about it on the spectrum of I didn't
Right.
understand this information right now. It looks like I look like a fool right now. I'm gonna tell
Mm-hmm.
you right now, literally, since I don't want to always bring up work, but it just applies so well because me working with the youth, it just comes out that way. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things that I'm unaware of, that when a student uses a particular concept, word, new lingo, and things of that sort, I have no understanding of how they're trying to use it. Like, for example, the kids is over here talking about, do you got turbulence? And you're like, what is turbulence? For me, I know what turbulence they're talking about, but the way that they're using turbulence is talking about somebody's physical features. But if you weren't wise up to that, in my particular case, I like always putting two to two together. And then again, later on, I ask, you can look like the fool at that. But that's where you take those L's as being the fool and you turn those L's into lessons so that eventually is information that you have in your arsenal. So there's no necessary thing that, oh, yeah, you're the fool and you're just a fool and you're always
Mm-hmm.
going to be a fool.
I
No,
thought you were gonna say take those L's and turn them into lemons.
I turn them into lessons because I'm very lazy when it comes to cooking. So I'm not gonna even make lemonade. I know that's
You're
not
not gonna
cooking,
make
but
lemonade.
still, I'm too lazy to make lemonade. Look at all the L's: lazy, lemonade, lethargic, all of this stuff.
Lethargic. Oh my god.
I am the human thesaurus. I'm just playing.
You
No, I'm
are
not.
you are far from lazy.
Oh
Far from
man,
it. You use that wisdom, and then you can find someone else to make the lemonade. Get your
let's
juices flowing.
collaborate.
Yeah,
I'll get the
exactly.
ingredients that I know of that it used to taste good for me to make
Right.
the lemonade, and then you do the magic with your divination and
Yep,
create the
I
lemonade.
will.
Oh man. But
Oh man. Yes.
but it's all, again, I say it's all a matter of intention,
Mhm.
because if you are seeking to learn,
Mhm.
you will get the information. But
Mhm.
if you're just seeking for another attention, whether, again, if it's for attention, whether it's
Mhm.
for to entertain somebody, any other intention that's not behind trying to grasp the lesson, that's where
Yeah.
you miss your level up.
Right. You missed your exit, and now you have to keep going
Yeah.
and for another 2 miles so you get
Yes.
your next exit. Yes, yes, yes.
The cool thing, and I'm gonna do this for y'all because I love flipping stuff. If you look at full and you flip it backwards,
Mm-hmm.
what word do you get?
Oh, oh, not this again.
Yes.
Loof.
Yes.
Yeah, loof.
And if you know a bit of what loof is,
Mm-hmm.
because it can mean a number of different things. There's also the word of being aloof, which
Mm-hmm.
of not knowing again.
Mm-hmm. Which is that ties into nice. You know how I am on the difference between kind and nice. When you get into niceties, it's an aloof agreeability from aloofness. So you can, it's it ties into fool in that sense. You
Yes.
know, since we're talking about words. So there we go.
Yeah.
That's all I got for that one.
You're all good. And again, I still say, y'all, don't quote me on this stuff. Also
Mhm.
look into
Do
it
your own
yourself,
research.
because I try sometimes my best to also word bend, so some things don't work and apply, but
Mhm.
they get close to. But the reason why I bring up loof and having the word full,
Mhm.
because if you look it up, I like to use the online etymology dictionary. Etymology basically being the study of words,
Mhm.
the roots and things where they originate from. The similarities move to aloof. That's why.
Gotcha. Mhm.
So that's why I always like to go on comparison to comparison on those things with words. Again, words are real
They
spells,
are
aka wars.
Avada Kedavra. No.
Yes, but
Yes.
still speaking on those terms, I have two other websites there that I wanted to just get some pieces to keep the conversation moving along and going, and just getting everyone's thoughts on it. Of course, Chris, your thoughts as well. But I'm gonna give y'all the option right now, or honestly, Chris, I'm gonna give you the option because you right here. But shouts out to everybody else. Still put it down in the comments. I appreciate y'all. So one of them I have on here is the difference between the wise and the fool. Is an article. They go a few reasons between from a biblical perspective,
Mhm.
and then
Okay.
there's another website which is just about quotes about the wise and the fools.
Okay. Let's go biblical.
All right. The difference between the wise and the fools from a biblical sense. So, all right. I'm going to read the first paragraph, and then after that, I'm going to read what does it mean to be a fool. We could talk about it from how they say it. What does it mean to wise? Talk about it and say it, and we continue from there. All right. It says, the Bible often talks about the character of the fool, especially in the books of Proverbs. If y'all don't know what Proverbs means, Proverbs stands for proverbs. These are wise sayings. These are words and verses that, again, speak of
Mhm.
stuff. I'm sorry. I just have to give
I
context. I'm not
love
a
it.
I'm not a Bible goer, y'all. I do know of because it's basic instructions before leaving Earth. My
Yeah.
acronyms. That's the Bible.
Yep.
So
Yep.
these you can learn from any type of text wherever you take it. But however, the word fool is also mentioned over 60 times throughout the Bible. From this, again, article saying it.
6 3 times. Wow.
That's what it says. I mean, I think about, again, from Proverbs, I think about
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff. I mean, the
Mhm.
camel in the needle's eye, a fool with, there's a certain, so I know it's in
They
there.
go
I don't know if it's in
hard.
all, if I don't know, is it all different versions of the Bible, y'all, but it's somewhere in one of those
From
versions. King
the
James,
King
I don't know.
James.
Yeah, one of them. The King James, the new English edited, the new
Mhm.
American edited,
Right.
the John Paul Appleseed version. I don't know, but if you are anything like me, you grew up thinking that a fool was equivalent to an ignorant or unintelligent person, but that's not the case.
Mhm.
Being a fool has less to do with the person's intelligence and more to do with their attitude,
Mhm.
their character, and their heart. Again, the attitude being the experiences that they went through,
Mhm.
the character being those influences to mold them, and then the heart from the intention. Heart, art, earth, all of this stuff. I'm flipping words all on y'all. So, what does it mean to be a fool? I'll read this first paragraph and we'll continue on with it. According to the Bible, a fool is a person who knows right from wrong, yet still chooses to do wrong.
Start off strong right there. You know,
So,
but you
so
don't.
I don't know how many times. Look. Shouts out to all my freestylers. Shouts out to all my parents. Shouts out to all my teachers and people that's giving wisdom. It's funny sometimes when you're either freestyling something, you're about to say something to somebody. For freestyling, be like, yeah, you know it's your boy. We don't know. I just met you.
You're right.
I just met you. How do I even know that? I know.
That's
Yeah, I know you are a person that's about to rap, but I don't know your name.
That's on frequency. That's been since I've been back. That's all I've been hearing from my family. Well, you know, and I'm like, I don't. I've been gone 5 years. I don't.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know.
Again, see, parenting. You would expect, again, common sense ain't that common. See, common sense gets thrown in there about like, yeah, you should know these things. But
who told me?
did you check for understanding? Did you check for understanding? Did you ask me, did I really know? Did you ask me to repeat back what was said so then I could actually know what you're talking about? Especially, I'll give y'all another example of folks that you may either work with, your friends, or you just might walk into a conversation and somebody be like, yeah, you know, right, Chris, right?
Yeah.
Trying to set you up, not knowing any of the details of the conversation. They just want you to be like, yeah. And the person will be like, see, I told you. See, they know. We don't even know what we're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about at all. But yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sure did. That's my response every time.
In the same aspect again with teaching. The teacher be like, "Yeah, you should know these things by now." Even though the child could have graduated and moved on to the next grade,
right?
Especially in California, the No Child Left Behind. Just because they want to add them into the fray, that doesn't necessarily mean that they actually got the building blocks of learning either their ABCs, their addition and subtraction, and now you're trying to throw multiplication at them and they don't even know that. And you're like, you should know these things. Why you can't do 5 times 5? Like, what's going on? And be like,
right.
I still don't even know how to. I have students saying, Mr. Calvin, I'm terrible at subtraction. So I'm like, how are you going to really fully understand division? Let alone multiplication. So it's all about, again, in this sense, saying they said, you know it. Again, that's why I like the word ignorance. Has the word ignore in there. You know.
He knows.
But you still decide not
What's
to.
good?
You already know. What's good, my G? Notes
What's
in
good,
the building.
man?
What's the word? What's the word?
Nothing much, man. Just listening to you, man. Showing love, showing support. That's pretty much it. Hey, sis. Hey, Charles.
I appreciate that. AKA, I have a new account because I deleted the other one because I knew that this wasn't what I wanted anymore, and I'm not going to be a fool about it. I got you.
Facts.
Nice way to call that in.
Facts.
That's what an MC does all day. This point.
Man, telling you.
But yeah, what you got for us, Notes? What you got?
What you mean?
And the aspect of the difference between the wise and the fool. So, what is your thoughts on this?
I'm gonna keep it real with you.
I just popped in.
I just popped in, bro. I'm just being. I missed the whole thing. You know, I'm just showing. I'm just here listening and showing love. That's pretty much it. Now,
Okay, then.
if you want to explain to me, then I can give my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Reading the biblical one again, and in the same energy. In the same energy.
Okay.
You know.
Yo, what's good? What's good, Santi?
What's
Peace and
going
love,
on,
brother.
bro?
What's the word?
What's the word?
No more. Put in the sink.
Man, I appreciate you popping in, my man. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
figured there was only 4 of us in here. I'm like, damn, dog, I'm looking like a fool not jumping up in here. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So Santi, this is the fam in here. You basically a part of what's the word fam in here.
What's
Got
the word?
yes.
Good, man.
That's good. How
So
you guys doing?
I'm gonna let Santi
Doing good.
doing well. I'm gonna let Santi share his perspective, and then hopefully Notes will get some perspective from here in Santi. So Santi, what you got for the topic on the wise and the fool?
So what I think, man, is that both can have the equivalent amount of knowledge,
Okay.
but the wise will apply it and continue to learn from it. A fool will know about it, but ain't gonna do anything about it. You know, they won't apply it to anything in life, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense. You
Yes.
know, yeah, that's what I think it is. It's a matter of either being stuck or doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like I can learn something from someone in the corner, in the street corner, asking me for some change, and they'll give me some jewels
Yes.
on life lessons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'll learn something from it, and I may apply it in my personal life. And later on down the line, guess what? Thanks to that lesson that I learned from that individual,
Yeah.
I'm moving forward. But at the same time, they're still in the street corner at the same spot, not doing anything with the knowledge that they have.
Yes.
So I hope that makes sense to you guys.
It does. It kind of goes
You
into
know,
the analogy of missing. Some people miss their exit, right? And then you learn the lesson from missing it, but you still got to progress on. But at least now they have the knowledge. But in
exactly.
terms of like if they can get back on track or not, that's within
Mhm.
within their plan or divine timing or whatever cards may fall. So
Exactly.
yeah, that does make sense.
Yes.
Yes.
Someone once told me that wisdom outweighs knowledge, and even though you need knowledge in order to gain the wisdom,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that carries a lot of weight. It definitely, wisdom definitely outweighs knowledge, because you could know everything. You could be the smartest individual in the world. That's why you have so many very educated people in this world that they're not doing anything with their education, versus you have entrepreneurs, you have people that are actually applying it in life without the need of getting that education.
Yes.
You know? So yeah,
Yes.
that's where I'm at with that.
I don't know why it popped into my mind as you're speaking
I'm
on it,
like,
but it reminds me of, again, the wise having the motivation of, and this guy popped into my head for all my 2000s, 90s, however, folks. You remember the guy, if you watched on a commercial, that told you about going to DeVry University?
Oh my god, yeah.
You sitting at home with nothing to do, just do it. It's
yeah.
easy, so easy.
Yeah. I think
So I got to make a confession, dog. I went to ITT, so
ITT
Nah.
Tech, man.
yeah.
As long as you didn't go to ICDC, no shots to
Yeah.
anybody who went to
oh my
ICDC.
god.
Yeah.
Y'all song over here, Romeo, ICDC college.
It, it's funny, man, that you say that, because when I worked in that field, if somebody made a mistake in the field, they're like, "Oh, bro, you had to have been. You probably went to DeVry. That's why you made this mistake."
Oh my goodness. Dang.
Yeah.
School is cool,
But
y'all.
yeah, I remember those
As long as you
commercials.
went. As long as you
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my. But yeah, and again, going off of what both of you are putting, it's really up down to, I add in just the motivation. It said even here
motivation,
from this,
attitude.
the
What was
attitude, the
it?
character, and the heart.
Yes, yep. There we go.
Because
Mhm.
Willingness plays the key part in it too.
Mhm.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm willing to learn this stuff, guess what? I am going to learn it. It just depends on the pace.
Yeah.
I may get tuckered out maybe for like a week trying to go through all this information.
Mhm.
Then I take a break. But if I know that I'm going to be coming back to it because I have that willingness, because then there's a payout for it. Again, unfortunately for a lot of us, it is incentivized, whether if it's we're getting it from, the neurotransmitters that's in our body that makes us want to come back to these things, which also can lead to addictions and all other different stuff. Well, at the same time, also, it might be coming from someone that you have a very lot respect for. So also wanting to show that their time is not in vain. It's what's also helping the growth pattern, or at least that state of going even faster than if you were to do it on your own. Which nothing's wrong with you doing it on your own. That's just like an extra booster, because now you have someone who's your accountability buddy telling you like, yeah, all right, let's get back up on this. Whether if it's going to the gym, learning some new workout exercises that might actually work for you, helping to burn weight or calories, whatever it may end up being. But again, yes, like y'all said, the intention and the willingness to want to do this stuff is there. Don't you paying attention to chicken and beef? Of course you are. Of course you are. Of course.
I missed out on chicken and beef. Hey,
yeah.
I tagged him. I was like,
shouts
where
out
are
to
you?
chicken and beef. Of course you.
Hey,
shouts out to chicken and beef. We love you. We love you. We love you.
That's
But the true in the truest sense of stuff, what also gets people stuck in these particular states, whether if it's being a fool or being called wise, I always still have to put back in the concept of ego as well as shame.
Okay.
And when I speak on so when I think of shame, I think of, again, just because you may not know something, you might catch that person who's actually trying to elevate, is trying to get to that next level, but they come across somebody who thinks that they know everything, that can seem to be wise, and they downplay the other person by saying, you don't know this? Are you stupid? What's wrong with you? And because of the fact of that fear and the shame, that person would be like, wait, was I actually looking at the right thing?
They second guess themselves.
They start second guessing, not knowing that on that road it is going to be difficult. There's going to be folks. I mean, we're speaking about in a biblical sense from what they have here in the Bible, like towards, I don't even know if it's Revelations, but in all those different areas, there's going to come a time where there's going to be a number of imposters on this world giving you information here and there, fake news, and you have to be very, not only just knowledgeable, but you need to be aware as well as have the discernment to be like, yeah, that's not what I need. Yeah, this is not what I need. This person is saying something, but are they really truly there with the right intention to really help me, or they also got something going on and they're trying to throw their baggage onto me? So when I think of the whole idea,
being vigilant.
Yes. Yes. But that's the idea when I'm thinking of shame just popped into my head, because there's a lot of, I'm still referencing from kids and then also myself. The reason why sometimes in class I wouldn't want to speak up or I wouldn't want to share things is because out of the fear of someone being shamed of like, oh, he's stupid because he asked that question. That was a dumb question to end up asking. Even if it was a question to just clarify what the teacher just said, for someone to still downplay that, it really stops people from wanting to do anything. I'll be honest. That's why I stopped being so as outspoken as I was in school. It's because I would either have teachers or I would have friends of mine that when I would ask some of that stuff, it was rather, man, why you keep saying that, man? Now we're going to have more work to do. Or, man, like, he just said that. Why you just end up repeating that? Or the teacher be like, all right, yeah, Calvin, that's enough questions. No more questions, okay? Like, and then it gets to a point where, okay, then, like, I was just trying to understand it, but now I don't even want to ask anymore.
Right.
So now how do I go about doing this? Especially being young, it's like there's other ways to go about learning this stuff. But when you're at school, it's just like asking the teacher. They're the person that is the holder of this knowledge that's supposed to help you grow. But they're like, yeah, no more questions. And then you have your peers saying, yeah, no, you're saying something. Please don't do that because we might get more homework. I don't want to do more homework.
I remember that a lot.
Yeah, like literally, I've had a moment where I had the whole class where I had said something. Everybody like, man, like either throw their hands up or just all in unison, just extremely mad. Like, why'd you have to say that? Like,
I got a throwback for you. I got a throwback Chiquita banana.
Oh no. Yeah, oh no. Oh no. Spanish
Oh
class,
no,
Miss Morales.
no,
No.
yeah.
No. That's a whole nother different thing.
That
That's a
was
whole
a
nother
whole nother
different thing
thing
to
of
learning.
shame. Yeah.
That, like, no, like honestly, I didn't. That's the good thing is I didn't really I didn't understand what she would be talking about. I never knew she was
At
talking
all.
about chica banana. I was just like, I was still trying to figure out all the conjugations for Spanish. She was like, abas, 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 abas. I'm like, what? Like, why are you saying this so fast? But
She loved all of the boys. She had you guys on the left side and all the girls on the right side. She's like, the boys are my chiquita bananas.
But see, that's where also too the person who is the holder
Holder of
of
knowledge.
that
Yeah.
knowledge, how
Mm-hmm.
they use it is how influential it can become and how
Right.
powerful it can become.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they end up saying again. I know people keep using it. It's a cliche, but yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. So
Ability.
knowledge
Mm-hmm.
is and they say it is power, but the application of that is what really becomes the real power.
Mm-hmm.
And for those folks who are giving you the wrong knowledge and the wrong information, and then you go and use that knowledge, then you come to find out it becomes a misuse of the power.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
true.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's true.
in all essence, every part of whether you're the fool or whether you are the one that's being wise, you definitely need to have a checkpoint to know, okay, did I get what this means? Did I understand what this means?
Mm-hmm.
Also, the awareness of, am I actually coming across genuinely when either I'm trying to receive the knowledge or am I willing to take on this knowledge?
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you do have a choice. You definitely do
I,
have the choice.
I mean, we you touched on it a bit ago about there being more fake prophets,
Yeah.
if you want to call them that, false prophets, and
Shout out to J. Cole.
yeah, and the media, mainstream media, is a perfect example of that.
Yes.
In whichever direction you want to take it. I mean, we live in a time where we can't be dependent on whatever we hear anymore.
Yes.
So if I'm dependent on what I'm hearing from them and sticking to whatever I'm hearing from them,
Yes.
I'm being a fool. Unfortunately, we live in a time where we have to do our own research.
Yes.
We have to gain our own wisdom. We have to know what is applicable to us and what really matters to us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think that plays a key part. And another thing too is that you stated that just like, well, you didn't state this, but I'm saying I think a fool, like I said earlier, will know everything, but he'll never put it to use. A
Yeah.
fool is too scared, just like you used the example of asking questions. A fool is too scared to fail.
Yes.
They don't think failure is an option, right?
Yes.
Versus a person who's been wise or who's a wise person, failure is part of their journey,
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that's crucial as well. Knowing that
Yes.
failure is going to be part of your journey no matter what. I mean, I know you guys have seen the meme of Michael Jordan missed over 5,000 shots in his career, but for
Yeah.
those 5,000 shots that he missed, he became who he was.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Those L's again are what shape you and mold you as a person. It's up to you whether if you're gonna take it as like losses and hits to your ego, or you're gonna take them as lessons to learn and grow from.
yeah.
What and at the same time, there is an art to actually failing. I know there's actually a book called The Art of Failure and things of that sort, but there's an art to it.
Mm-hmm.
And when what I mean by that is that's where you learn your process of not only elimination, but efficiency
Mm-hmm.
and improvement.
Yes.
You won't
100%.
know how to improve on something if you haven't even went through the
Didn't fail.
experiences and
Right.
failed on it.
Exactly.
In the context is we're gonna use basketball, I also use it in another context. In the context of basketball, I mean I've been getting out here and putting up some shots now that I got a basketball court. If I decide to start shooting like Sean Marion, no shots to Sean Marion, but I know that it doesn't work for my form if I don't try it out. You have to find your form. You have to find your formula and how it works. And the only way that's going to happen is that you have to go by that failure. It might be, you might be playing in a really serious game and like you haven't warmed up and got your shots in. So you just throwing everywhere. And, you know, you might have the pressure of your teammates like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Like stop. But again, that's where also, you know, either pressure is going to create you or you're going to crumble under that pressure. So I'll even say this. The fool or a person, again, who is afraid to take that step is because of the fact that they've seen the glimpses and they've lived vicariously through someone else. And they saw how bad either their parents failed. They saw how bad their friends on the block failed. They saw how maybe even bad someone that they looked up to failed. Now they're like, if my parents couldn't do this, and they're older than me and came before me, if the person I looked up to didn't even have a clue about this, even my friends and people on the block don't understand this, then I have no chance of really understanding or getting this. So why would I even try?
So I want to add a perspective of, because I know we've gotten more towards the side of like the fearful person as the fool, but what about the daydreamer as the fool? The one who gets stuck in the clouds and doesn't make, and it's not necessarily out of fear, but they get kind of stuck in the idealism of whatever the moves they're gonna make. That also is an aspect, because that's focused in, I know, you know, I do the tarot and stuff. There is a card of the fool, and it does and it does focus more so on the daydreamer. So it's a cautionary tale of like, don't get caught up too much in your head or in the ideal of something, and don't forget to actually take action as well. So like you can still like attain the knowledge, but you're still not taking any steps forward. Because
I absolutely agree with that. You're right. I was just gonna say it goes hand in hand with what you just stated. One of my favorite Bible verses states, "Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow is gonna worry about itself." You know what I'm saying? A full, if you have that full mentality or that full approach, in my opinion, is that you're worrying about what happened yesterday. You're worried about what's happening tomorrow. You're not worried about what's in front of you right now. You know what I'm saying?
You're not in the
You're
present.
right. You're not in the present. Exactly.
Still lack of action. Like action is still not being taken. But
exactly.
Again, where we go back to motivations, because motivations there's all different, you know, types of motivation, reasons for, you know, why you want to do something, why you don't want to do something, you know. So I was thinking that aspect as well, because it's not always fear driven that makes you a fool.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's the overabundance, you know, the overload of multiple choices, especially if you have somebody who is a dreamer. Again, that's why, since you brought up the whole daydreaming thing, my name, my acronym is A Dreamer's Vision is Seeing Success. So that's the thing. We can dream all day of all the multiple outcomes that can happen, but at the end of the day, you have to define how you're going to end up seeing and doing that. So we have to have concrete ways of how we're going to get there. So what happens when someone who's very idealistic, who's up in the clouds, is very lofty, is, oh, they got the energy for days and the ideas for days. The thing is, again, they may not have or know the means. The action. That's it. They put all of their action and energy into creating the idea. So they think that is enough. And that is enough. So I got 10,000 different ideas on how we can change the fuel efficiency of the U.S. Cool. All right, let's start with the first one. Now, I don't think the first one, because like the 500th one that I have, actually we use this part, and then it could connect to this part here. So okay, then let's go with the 5,000th one then. Well, for that to happen, we actually had to be in the state of Idaho, so then we can get, okay, then let's call up some people who are in that place. So what happens is, and there's different archetypes for this too, because some of this can be either job related and things. A lot of this all loops into, again, it says right here, attitude, character, and heart. It becomes a part of the character. And what happens is, then if you are to create also an effective team, you know that these certain people play these certain roles. So you know, if you want somebody who's good at advertising, you're going to have that person who's very ideal driven. You know that person.
I tend to find that when speaking of the Fool, they tend to have a lot of heart, and then it's the other elements that are needed as well to complete it, tend to be the areas of lacking, because they could have the knowledge, they could have the heart, but maybe the motivation is not there, so that's just something I've come to understand. It's like I said earlier, when I view the wise and the Fool, it's on a spectrum for me. So like they're one and the same, just on different ends of the spectrum. Same with what is that? Is that the law of duality? Is that one?
Well, you talking about with the Hermetic, the Hermetic principles?
I kind of feel like it's on that kind of scale. Like the same with love and hate are the same thing, but just on opposite ends of the scale.
That is, I don't necessarily think I think it might be duality. You might correct. I got to brush back up on my Hermetic principles, but I know there is, because it speaks into that whole law of, for you to even really know the other side, there has to be the instance of both. How do you know if something is hot unless you know that something is cold?
Right.
It just varies in different degrees.
Exactly.
Do you guys think that a Fool is more emotionally driven versus a wise man or a wise person being more fact driven?
1,000%.
Right?
1,000%. 1,000%. Because they got the knowledge, they applied that. That's why. Yes. Because
when it comes to drive,
when I think of that too, is because you've acquired so much of this knowledge and so much of this wisdom, it can get to the point that you become so logical. Just don't forget, if we don't have that piece of emotion, that's what's a piece of our humanity. That's what keeps us humane as a person. If we get rid of all the emotion, when people's like, yeah, man, I ain't trying to have no emotions or nothing, basically a robot. You become, in a sense, of a robot. And what happens with that is being wise. That's why you have to keep not only the open-mindedness of when you're being wise, but what makes not only a great leader, but also a great teacher is someone who, again, is willing to learn from those that supposedly he has more knowledge than, to always continue to keep that humility, to come back down, to know that, honestly, I still don't know everything and anything about subjects, because guess what? There's always going to be something new to be added to that subject every day. So there's no way that you can ever be a ultimate master in one subject, let alone everything in the universe.
That made me think again of Gandalf, because he had to stop laughing.
Hey, any way that they can
manipulate his emotions to be able to set the plans in play, because he could have been all emotional and like, Bilbo, you have to do it this way now. I mean, he did bully him a little bit, but mostly like he had to reserve of any emotional attachment that he had for this little hobbit guy to send him on this journey for the bigger purpose. So
and to clarify,
regulating your emotions.
And to clarify, the Hermetic principle is polarity. It's
polarity.
Yeah. Everything is dual and has poles or opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree.
There we go.
Yes.
The law of polarity.
That's why I live by the words. Oh my goodness. Shouts out to chicken and beef. It's always chicken and you already know chicken and beef. That's filming up in here. We appreciate you, man. And if for folks who's still figuring out what he's talking about in the TOA, guess what? Y'all go. I'm on another podcast on Sundays called Random Thoughts Talk Series, and you'll find out those inside jokes of what all that is. Notes got his own inside jokes. Whether it's him and Anubis, whether if it's him needing to catch the holy fade,
The
all of
holy
that stuff.
fade. Wait, where
Yes.
are we? Pause. Where are we on the merch for the holy fade? Because I'm
Let's
back
take
in
an
town.
internet break real quick. All right, let's get an update. Let's get an update from Notes.
I
What's
need
going
an
on with the
update.
merch?
I need the merch for the holy fade. Come catch this holy fade.
Oh wait, what happened? Oh, y'all want an update on the merch?
I want the
Yes.
merch. What we got?
More more is coming soon. I'm just getting back working officially now, so
Okay.
I already got everything lined up and stuff. That's another reason why too started a brand new page and stuff like that. I'm putting everything in order. So yeah,
Yes.
there's more.
Yeah.
There's more. It's coming. It's coming.
As well as since we're doing a small commercial break, Santi, I would love for you to also talk about what you do too and the platform that you got, man. Please.
So right now there's we are working on I'm planning on some things, you know what I mean? I'm still going to be doing some podcast episodes coming up here in the next
Yes.
month and a
Nice.
half. I would love to have you on there, A.D.V.I.S.S, or anybody who wants to be a part of it.
Yes.
You know, it's mainly about showcasing my guests and talking about random topics, anything,
Yes.
life in general, you know? And if you guys have seen the type of questions that I ask or the type of topics that I bring up, they are very in depth and personal,
What's up,
you know?
Kim?
Hi, Kim.
I know.
Yes.
So thank you for that, man.
Oh yeah, no problem. I got to. And a lot of this is still going to be plugged after because
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
with the coming to the close of this is my final season of this, I want to make sure that the main points of why What's the Word Wednesdays was created is still there in its lettering. And it's
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea of bringing folks together, like-minded folks, and really building on topics and concepts and just moving towards not only the thoughts and the ideas, but also the solutions and where to bring this stuff. Because
Exactly.
I just don't want to just talk about this stuff and just give you the give you the stuff. I want you also to be able to apply it and then know that, oh yeah, these are some solutions that you can try. But in the essence, it's just coming together, building in another different space, as well as seeing who's all here and wanting to build.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Exactly. I mean, with that being said, I feel like, bro, I, I look at it more like a fellowship. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's a beautiful fellowship
So
that
good.
yeah. I look at it that way. Not just that, it's something that it stands out from the norm. You know what I'm saying? It's
yes,
like a beautiful movement that we have going on here with everybody that I've met. You know, in this uh, world, in this I don't network. You know, it's
yeah,
just a beautiful movement. It's a beautiful thing.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it's there about.
I'll be right there
Now,
in like 5 minutes. Okay.
now back
No.
to your
All right.
Regularly
regularly
scheduled
scheduled
program.
program. You see, you already got it programmed. Yes, we're programming your mind. Yes, we want you to be brainwashed. I'm just playing. No, we're not. It's none of that, y'all. We're not in no multi-level marketing.
You know.
No schemes. No schemes. My intention is to give you this work. I'm just playing.
Here
But
here comes the close. We're gonna start closing the deal right now, dog.
right. So for a low payment of
Oh
$19.99,
my
4 payments,
goodness.
you won't be the fool. You'll be a fool if you miss out on these
Uh,
deals. On this one lifetime deal.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. But look, I know in a joking way that we're saying that, but that's really another way for folks to be vigilant. Because there are
yeah.
gonna be people like that.
Mhm.
Yes.
That are gonna sell you on this is a once in a lifetime thing. And if you miss out on this, you must be stupid for missing out on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
That's
going
why I
back
had
to
to
the
leave the
shaming.
sales
Yeah.
industry. Yeah, I had to leave the sales industry because I was like, nah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Now,
okay. No.
now let's touch on. We've been touching on the fool so much. Let's
But
get into the
why?
creeps on the whys, whether it's even with the pros and the cons, and then I want us to shift to the last topic so then we can also have time to touch on that. And whenever anyone has to go, you're more than welcome. Just pop out whenever. I appreciate the love and being in here. So we talked about so much from the perspective of the fool and pieces here and there about the wise. Now, on an aspect when it comes to the wise, the person didn't come up starting off being like that.
Mm-hmm.
They made their treks. They put in their hour. They put in their 10,000 hours. For my music folk who knows, you put in the 10,000 hours, that means that now you've, again, accomplished in some way, shape, or form of now I got my formula down. And what they do is through the test of time, they continue to test that formula against different places and then make their adjustments here and there and here and there to make sure that, one, not only that it applies to them, but two, that how I like to do it, I have the 4 levels of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
They go through those levels in other different ways, shapes, and forms. So then now when they have it, it's applied to them. And now they're able to effectively communicate that across to people.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with that, again, we're talking about that particular, we're going to go back to that particular archaic definition because it's the one, like you said, Chris, it popped out to you, still pops out to me. But I want to also talk about it's exercising or showing sound judgment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So learning through all those trials and errors, knowing the difference between what sound judgment is versus you're just rushing.
Right.
And being able to exercise, again, it's an act. It's basically moving. You're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get healthy if I'm just sitting here doing nothing, but I'm wise to the sense that, okay, for me to even do that, all right, step one, I have my feet on a balancing board right now.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I'm working on some aspect of being able to get that going.
Mm-hmm.
Next, I'm going to have to take my way and walk outside my room. Maybe take 5 minutes to actually stand outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, if I want to get some exercise in, let's go for a 5-minute walk. It can even be up and down, right down there. But from that experience, now I can move along and I can share that with somebody else and then build upon it. So next time, maybe, now I don't even have to start using this balance board. I can already automatically go out the door and stand out there for a bit and then be like, okay, now let's go for our 5 minutes. And what happens is with the consistency of doing that, the willingness to want to do that, eventually it's going to become a part of you, the character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really with a lot of the stuff that we're learning as people and what we do. That's why when they say you're an artist, you're a teacher, you're this type of archetype, is because you embody the character just through your lifestyle. You create and make it a lifestyle. It's just not what you do. It's a part of who you are. And with the person that's wise, that's what happens through those experiences. It becomes not what they do, but it's also who they are. It's, again, I'll even use the verb. It says to become informed or knowledgeable, to give instruction or information to. So you already have this. It's there. So now you are giving it out. Now, on the flip side, with having so much of that knowledge and having a lot of those different experiences, there can get to a point where the overload happens.
Right.
The burnout happens.
Yeah.
And the burnout in the sense of, I have all of this information. Now I have a following of people or folks that are here. I already shared this with you guys. I gave this information. All right, I don't have any more. All right, so now what am I going to do?
Go find some more.
Exactly.
Go.
Exactly.
Not over. Not over.
No, and again,
level.
and that's where when we're talking about that heart, that logical sense of you thinking that you've already exhausted all the information that you have in that particular realm, thinking that that's all that it is and that's all you can offer, it can flip either one of the other ways. That pressure to still try to provide a service to people, or, like you said, go and get more information. That's taking the route of knowing that, okay, I don't have much more for you to teach you guys, but I'm also going to go on my own journey to get more information. If you want to continue along, I'm also going to make my faults. I'm also going to fail. I'm going to fall down. If you're willing to still do that with me, let's do that. Being upfront and intentional with it. Mm-hmm. But where it can become a flip and it's just no emotion attached to it is, especially if this becomes a part of the equation, it's like, oh, okay. Let me Google this real quick, or let me make this little part up. All right, let's send this over to him. Just because I got him on a Patreon, I got him on this. Oh, I got them paying a $5,000 course for all this going on. I got to get him something. I got to make him the impression that I do know what I'm talking about, and I am this wealth of knowledge that is not ever going to run out. So again, I talked about the ego part. It gets too much into the head to a point where the doubt is there, but it's like, nah, I know all of this. So there's more that I know I can give. So what if I don't have all of this? All right, let me go grab this. And I mean, I've done that before, so it should work. Mm-hmm. So the pressure can also add up to the point where the person can just get burnt out. Because then some of them may really get the passion fatigue. They're so passionate about giving that information and stuff out, but it gets to a point where it'll switch and be like, you know what? I don't care about this anymore. All right, I'm just going to give them whatever. They'll believe anything that I'm saying now, since now I have them on the hoop. I've actually helped change and move lives around. Let me just say this information. Then people regress. And then guess what? That same person can end up deciding
right down the scale to
the they'll decide like, oh, okay, you know what happened? You know what happened? That piece of information that I gave you, you actually misdid it. So you might want to start back at level 1 where we were and work your way back up on all the stuff I taught you previously. And once you do that, you get back up here, we'll do it again. And what ends up happening with that person who's wise, honestly, for me, they end up losing the title within their own self, and they know it. Mm-hmm. Again, the knowing part, the evidence or hinting of that type of information, you're supposed to have that keen judgment. And once that judgment starts to become flawed, that's when that notice, that prudence, that the ability to be able to discern what's given to you has you regressing. Mm-hmm. But when you think about regression, again, it's that fear. So a wise person, again, like you said, it's all on the spectrum is there. And at any moment in time, you can put a wise person dealing with the same thing. You can get somebody who's a fool dealing with the same thing. Mm-hmm. And depending on all the other quadrants and areas of how it can end up working out, these are the situations you can get. Yep.
Hey guys, I'm gonna cut you guys off. I'm out of here.
Good night, Note.
I'm getting mad tired.
I appreciate you. You already know you falling asleep, man. Shoot, because he over here trying to spit.
I'm on the sleeping schedule now. I'll be passing out during the weekdays, like 8 or 9.
So
I
listen to your body.
I'll catch you guys later. What's your name again? What's your name?
Santi.
Hey, you can follow me if you want, man.
All right, bro. I will.
Likewise.
Let me look you up right now. There you are.
Everybody,
I got you, Doug.
Everybody that's
all right,
all up
man.
in
You
here.
guys stay blessed.
You too, man.
I'm out of here like somewhere. Catch you guys later.
You already know.
Good night, bro.
Peace.
Later.
But yeah. Any thoughts of me just going into that random spiel? And I appreciate y'all listening.
No, it made sense.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think self-awareness is crucial under that, situation. You know what I'm saying? I would want to say in a relationship, for example, I've been in a relationship for a long time, my wife and I. I've been a fool thousands of times. But that's what has led me to where I'm at now in a mindset of I'm accepting of a lot of things that versus I wasn't accepting of in the early days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of evolving and part of becoming a wise person is changing your ways, facing new challenges, new obstacles. You know what I'm saying? I think, for example, I'm going to use the relationship example. early on in a relationship, I think it's safe to say any of us that have been in relationships early on, we failed to identify the difference between a preference and a red flag. You know what I'm saying? There's those are two completely different things, you know. And in the past years ago, I was a fool holding my preferences that didn't align with her preferences that didn't align with my preferences.
Yeah.
I would deem them as a red flag. And no, they're not red flags. They're just preferences. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that things like that fall under the wisdom umbrella, if it makes any sense.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The
I think
so
any level of growth
yes.
where there is growth will automatically slide closer on the scale towards wisdom, because there is a want, there's motivation, and there's the heart to grow, to do an action,
Yes.
to evolve. So
Yes.
yeah, that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'll even stretch it further. When you think of the word emotion, because that's something again that we always come across. If you take away and put that E, what word do you have left?
Emotion.
Yes. So emotion, we know it's an energy, it's a vibe. So that E stands for that energy. It's in motion. When you feel an emotion, you're always in some type of movement, some type of action. Because even if you learn something as a wise person, or even you come across and you have that eureka moment as a fool, you have that sense of emotion that now pairs to whatever you just learned is there. So what we also come to understand is having that balance between knowing when there's a time to use that emotion to help drive a decision, or when to let that decision or the logic take a step for you to think about the emotion.
Yeah.
And that's where
And,
go for
yeah.
it. Go for it.
No, and I was going to say, and that's what makes the current times that we're living in so tough.
Yes.
That I feel like a lot of things that we see, a lot of decisions that are being made are very, very emotionally driven versus fact driven.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and I mean that all the way around. I just don't mean it from like my personal preferences or anything like that. It's just all the way around. We are very emotionally driven these days.
Yes.
You know, more so than ever. I feel like I'm old. I'm an old head, so I can say that. You know, I'm 42, so I feel like right now the era that we're living in is probably like very, very emotionally driven
Yes.
on what we do. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a
And
lot, and the particular emotion is fear. Like
Yeah.
that one is the main one leading. I mean, there's a lot of the other, because there's the difference. You can get into like feelings versus emotions, but like
Mm-hmm.
fear is a really big one
It
that is driving a
is.
lot of people right now, especially in this post-pandemic world. You know,
Exactly.
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
I definitely agree with you on that, because I just came from across the country, and my eyes have been opened in so many different ways, from living in different states and living in different cities, and it is this unified fear. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody is scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Man, I wish I would have been able to find these, but shouts out to one of the admins at my school. She had a book that she shared with me, and she had a chart of a lot of the emotions and virtues that are hardwired. Like, this is what's innate in us from when we're born, versus the lessons and morals that we have to be taught.
Okay.
And the reason why we keep coming back to the also just the fear and some of the shame and things of that sort is in there is because of the fact think about the fight, flight, freeze, fawn,
Mm-hmm.
all of those from the amygdala, all of those primitive programming that's in there, that's where that wiring is. And once we get a grasp and a hold of how that plays into how we're going to learn and grasp the information and these experiences, that's how well we're able to pick up and learn all the other concepts that's also beyond it that are taught. So again, being able to have the awareness to know that I don't know everything, to know that it is going to be a hard fought battle to get some of this stuff done. But at the end of the day, finding out that the reward is going to be so much greater than what you could expect it to be, even beyond your expectation.
Exactly.
Because it won't just serve you for one moment that you may be able to flex your intellect to somebody, but not flex in the sense of the ego, but to flex as in, oh snap, they were talking about this subject. I actually know some stuff about this. Like, let me jump in and add my piece. And it's just not gonna be that one instance. But the work ahead and being fearful of wanting to take the first step.
Right.
Or you've taken those steps. Now you're like, I know these steps. There is always an opportunity to be efficient on those steps, as well as because you think you know those steps. Now you're gonna try to be like, well, I can do it blindfold. There's a possibility you will fall.
And that's where attitude comes in. That's the aspect of attitude in there. Yep.
Exactly.
I see it.
And shouts out to Kim in here saying, yep, wisdom is quick to learn or quick to listen and slow to speak. Also learning from our past mistakes and learning from the mistakes of others. Perspective also plays a big role in the road of wisdom. Yes, it definitely does.
We can't be living in a false reality. You know what I'm saying?
What's going on, Joe? Peace and love. Exactly. But guess what? There are many folks who do.
Yeah.
And they create that. And what happens is when you get also a group of people who are in these echo chambers and they all feel that this is a reality that is a true reality.
Yeah.
You see how powerful, and that's why things like that too show, how powerful that is when we come together. If a group of folks can have an idea on, man, chocolate is the best ice cream or the best flavor in the world, and they stand firmly on it. So that's where we get into the folks who are the extremists on the side. You can see how heavily something on the extreme can happen when we come back to that whole idea of the spectrum.
Yes.
Right.
But at the same time, the discernment of there cannot be no wrong in what's being taught and what's being learned is where, again, you got to stop yourself. I can't keep drinking water, bottles and bottles and bottles and bottles of water every 10 minutes. Eventually, I'm gonna be bloated because I'm drinking so much water. Just because I know water is good for me, it helps clean out the body, clean out the system. I don't need 10 gallons of water in one day to try to clean out my system. So there has to be to a point where you have to cut off and be like, yo, this is enough to get my basis, my grounding, and my foundation. Now let me curve out and cut out and get the specifics here, and there. So then after that, my perspective, maybe it's at a 4. I meet somebody else is like at a 3 or a 5. I'm just using, of course, just numbers. And then I can learn how to tighten that focus and that perspective depending upon any of the different situations. So then I don't have just a fixed lens on a camera. I have a multivariate zoom.
I love it. Love it.
So depending on how far I want to go, I have the ability to do so, as well as if I need to push back and be closer to get a better perspective, I can do so.
And you can also widen it.
And you can also widen. And there's nothing wrong also with having a fixed lens, because guess what? That's what we start off with.
Right.
Exactly. You got to become a master of one at first, you know? in order to become a master of more. A jack of all trades didn't become a jack of all trades overnight.
Yes.
They were a master of one day at a time, one trade at a time, actually. Yeah, makes sense.
How does it
Exactly.
go? A master of all is a master of none.
Yeah,
I think
Let
that's
me.
how it goes.
yeah.
Okay, say a master. Yeah, a master of all is a master of none. Let's see what it says. Let me get it
It may need
specific.
some tightening on the
Okay, let's
phrase.
see.
My
It's
boy
saying
Joe in here, that's in here. That boy knows how to. He knows about this stuff, but
yes.
I think he's gonna be too shy to come up on here.
So let's see. It's a idiom. If I use boom 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 boom, I'll definitely find it right now because I know it says it's a master of none. But while we're doing that, any other pieces you guys have for this? So then I'm gonna transition to the last topic, which again it still runs in hand with it. But any other pieces you want to add before we move to the last topic for tonight?
I think we covered
I think
like
we did.
every aspect of that rock. We turned it over,
I
flipped it
mean,
over.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
In order to become wise, I think you got to be a fool 1,000 times.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Let's see. Have you ever had the moment where you realized the thing you thought you were an expert at and you got excited because you had room to go or to grow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I'm
Yeah.
definitely on that too. I literally
I'm
I always
currently in
take it
that.
back. I take it back to, for me, music and freestyling. It got to a point where I was freestyling so much that I've already thought I had tapped into many different routes of how to start a freestyle. And then I randomly came across a method that I like to use, and there's still so many more methods, but it's a method that I call it the loop method. Another homie was calling it the donut method, but it was so simple where I'll take the last word from the previous bar and I just use it as the first word. I just plug it in. So it becomes my filter. And once
Mm,
I learned that I could use that, I was like, yo, that opens opportunity. And I saw when I used it, it also opened opportunities for me because I was also learning synonyms of different words. It it started to create a bigger tree of, oh, I branch off, I can start doing this, then I can get
yeah,
into this part. I
Mm-hmm.
can add in my analogies from here because I started doing it this way. And then, wow, I use this word. I've never even used this word before. Now it actually came out. It's interesting.
yeah.
Same thing with all the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote that I like to use all the time, and it's from Louis C. Carroll. It says, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there."
Mm,
So with all of this stuff, it's just, again, it's trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know
yeah,
that literally it's not always a straightforward path. There's going
Right.
to be its turns and its winds. It might even
Right.
be under constructions, and you have to turn back and go, the left
Right.
side instead of the right side.
yeah,
But eventually you are going to get to your destination, and when
Mm-hmm.
you get to your destination, that's when you're going to be able to look back and be like, wow, actually there's a lot more to this than I actually thought.
Right. That's facts. I ended up all the way across the country just to be back here.
mm,
This was where it was supposed to be. But, trial and error.
yeah.
A lot of growth along the way. So
Yes.
now I came back with
And yes.
new eyes, fresh eyes, different experiences. And now I'm looking at where we grew up in a whole new, like, everything is brand new to me, even though it's
Yes.
not new. So, yeah,
Yeah.
any road will definitely get you there.
Yeah, that's true.
And speaking of other roads and brand new,
Hmm.
going into the final topic for tonight, it's Nimmy. What's good, Nimmy? Ouchies. What's good, my G? Peace and love. Good to see you up in here. Last topic for tonight. Does knowledge and truth truly set you free? So now we've talked about the perspectives from being the fool. We talked about the perspectives of being wise and how all of this can vary on a spectrum, can vary on quadrant, wherever, however you want to shape it and put it there. Ultimately, they both have knowledge and they both have a truth, whether if it's their truth or if it's the universal truth or if it's just the base knowledge of the same thing for them to grow even further in that knowledge. But now the question is, and I'm gearing that to y'all, does having that knowledge and having that truth truly set you free?
I think the truth sets you more free than the knowledge does.
Please,
That's what I think.
please elaborate.
Because you learn your lessons from the truth. You know, you could be book smart. You could learn all kinds of things. I mean, I know knowledge comes with the truth.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But with the truth, you have no way to escape it. You know what I'm saying? You have to accept the truth. If you're not accepting the truth, bro, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
Knowledge, you're going to learn from the truth, but even, I don't know, I feel like the truth should outweighs knowledge a little bit more. That's just my opinion. You know, if that makes any sense, because you can learn the truth, you can know the truth, you have to accept the truth. It's going to set you free once you see the truth, and it depends on what we're talking about.
Yes.
But with knowledge, it's more of a process. You know what I'm saying? You can be dissecting all kinds of things in the process of learning things, but I think the truth sets you free. That's my opinion. I hope that made sense.
It makes it is very clear to me because the visual that I got from it is, guess what? Knowledge is that journey. The truth is the destination.
Yes.
And once you've gotten to that destination, that's why it's your truth. And that's what you hold on to for so long. Because I'll tell you now, the knowledge, you're not going to remember all the specifics of a particular topic that you're learning about, but you got the truth. You got the answer at the end of it.
Exactly.
And that's what,
Joe just said when someone speaks the truth, it has a ring to it. You know?
Again, sound judgment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I heard the ring. I heard the ring from his truth and what he spoke. So I had to bring back the sound. You already know.
Yeah.
Had to bring it back. And before we continue, hold that. I found it, and I'm gonna say the quote is, and how they say it. A commonly misquoted phrase: "Jack of all trades, master of none." The full quote actually reads: "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one."
Okay, there
we go. And that was quoted by William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Yes. But go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry. I just had to add that.
No worries.
I finally found it.
I'm happy because it was like in my head, and I was like, I wish I knew the whole
I
thing.
I took my journey to make sure I found it. I didn't want to look like a fool on the live, you know. So I made the wise decision to take that journey to find the knowledge. Now it is my wisdom. I'm sorry. Of course.
I cannot sometimes. I was gonna say, so this is a very subjective question. So like as I was reading it, because when you use you, well, who is the you that it's being directed towards? So for me, I think ultimately the only thing that can set you free is you. So going back to our going back to our discussion on like the fool, whether they accept the knowledge that is presented to them or not, or the wise person looking and having the the motivation to get that knowledge, whichever side of the spectrum you may fall on, it ultimately comes like in order to be free, consciously, cognitively, physically free, that all comes down to you. And Santi, I also got a visual when you were talking about knowledge versus truth, having the truth, that again is subjective. Because I was thinking, yeah, you could read all day
Mm-hmm.
about snakes. You could read, you could have the knowledge about all the different types of snakes. But if you went out and you've had a lived experience with, let's say, one species, then you know from your experience that you had that this is true about this, rather than in theory. That was my experience, because it may, like, I don't know, it may say something like their temperament. You can like read about an animal's temperament, but you won't truly know until you're in the
Exactly.
presence of
Yes.
that animal how their temperament is going to be. So
Yeah.
that's the visual I got from what you were saying.
Yeah,
So
you're
yeah,
right.
I do
Yeah, you're right.
understand truth is very important because that's from lived experience, whereas knowledge,
Yeah, hands-on experience is crucial
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yes. And what you just also reminded me of, Chris, and this is, I know I gotta be better sometimes with my hip hop lyrics, but this one in particular, when you're talking about, again, it being subjective, and because it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard for a lot of this to be objective, we talk
Hey,
about this
hey
truth is,
Kundan.
yes, is objective versus, subjective. You
Right.
made me think of a line from Talib Kweli, and I always use it because it just reminds me. It's from his song Human Mike,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a bar in there from Human Mike.
Hey,
Hey Kundan, how
Hey
you doing?
Kundan.
What's the word?
hey, what's the word?
I'm just
What
explaining the
is the
last.
word?
I'm explaining we're on the last topic right now, and I'm just gonna get into what Chris just reminded me when it came to a lyric from a song, and then we're continuing from there. So, just thinking about how
That's
does
knowledge and
knowledge
truth
and
shall be set
truth
you
you set
free.
you free? Yeah. So the
Oh, yeah.
the song lyric comes from Talib Kweli, and the song is from Human Mike. The lyric is, "You can have your own opinions, but not your own facts."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when thinking of that, it gets to what's my truth
Mm-hmm.
versus what is the truth.
Right.
And just like you said, you may have had that lived experience of seeing the snakes, knowing how the snake moves, and do that type with it. But guess what? There's so many different other types of snakes.
Right.
That one may not make a noise like the rattlesnake does. That one
Right.
might coil up because it does that. You can give generalities, but even some
Mm-hmm.
people get mad when you speak in general.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But at the same time, that's why when we get into the specifics, when we say the general, we keep it that way because of the fact that we can't give every experience that is specific will be the same experience.
Right.
So for folks who, again, will go into relationship type stuff, the reason why some people have certain prejudice
Mm-hmm.
or they have certain, negative connotations about races of people or ethnicities is because of the fact that they're experienced with one.
Right.
I'll be truthful with you. I didn't even know. One of my homies, his grandfather, didn't really have a good liking to folks of my color. But once he met me, once he got to know me, once he saw the character, the attitude, and the heart,
Mm-hmm.
his tune changed. It was like, yo, so not everybody is like this. Not everybody that I see you with that same skin is like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because you had that lived experience, your truth was that, oh, this is how black people are. This is how they act. This is what they do. This is how Indian people are. This is what they are. This is what they do. This is how Hispanic people are, Asian people are, and this is what they do. But guess what? Just because your lived experience is not, a truth, it's
Mm-hmm.
not the overall truth. There's
Mm.
always the good, there's always the bad. So you can't fully just discount a certain amount of people and topics and things of that sort. You can be like, I have my preference that, okay, this is not necessarily the route I would like to always go down, but you will have the knowledge that, okay, it applies to everything.
Yeah, you're right.
But yes,
You
Was it
are
his?
absolutely right. It's okay for something not. It's okay for something to not be your cup of tea. You know what I'm
yes.
saying? But
Yeah.
you don't gotta hate
Right.
on it not being your cup of tea.
Right.
I understand that. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Kundan, I know you had something. Go ahead, cause we waiting. This
I
this
said,
man, go for it.
was it his truth though, or was it just his opinion that's based on, yeah, his lived experience, but also all the, the programming and the prejudices around him that he possibly grew up in or surrounded himself with that he thought was the truth, right?
Yes.
But it's just actually not the truth. It's just his his opinion,
Yes.
his prejudice. In fact, you would even call it a straight up lie, actually, right? Because it's
Mm.
not the full picture of uh, who every person of that color, that gender, like, whatever category it may be. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I would, yeah, that's why I'm pushing back a little on that, because especially since the question is, does knowledge of truths truly set you free, right?
Yeah.
It's I believe it does, but we
Oh, it's gonna start cooking.
know relativism, right? Uh, and so yeah, and this is why, like, not only and this is also why I distinguish between facts and opinion, right? To do your due diligence of learning the real historical facts, right? The real
Yeah.
psychological
I'm telling you, it's cooking. He gonna have to. I mean, Kundan's gonna have to.
truth of this reality,
Yeah.
right? Even reality, right, itself is we then we distinguish between, the relative reality and also the absolute reality, right? Like,
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
yeah, we're gonna wait, Kundan. I'm gonna have to pop you in and pop you out real quick, cause man, I'm telling you, just getting there and cooking. Cause
It's always when we get deep is when Instagram wants to start lagging.
oh yeah, yeah, I'm gonna make sure this live. So Kundan, come back and then come right back in, cause yeah, you was in there, cooking, and unfortunately, we was only getting pieces of the feast. We don't want a little bit more. Um, but to really, I mean, to play off of it, that's the reason why I leave it so open ended. Because truthfully, there's so many varying of answers, but I bring it back down to the concept and the idea of the
yeah,
biggest part of this
going
is
back on.
the awareness and being able to know what piece is going to help you build and become a better person at the end of the day. Because we
Mm-hmm.
had this experience
But now
being a human.
you're a black screen. Oh,
No,
I do hear you though. Yeah,
we can hear you. We can hear you.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
go for
Yeah.
it.
So what was I saying? Oh, I was talking about absolute reality versus relative reality, right?
Okay.
So, and there's even manipulation around that, right? When these colonial types and these new age types, they even manipulate that concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
This whole idea of oneness, or we're all one, or uh, the idea that um, um, this world is an illusion, or even this whole nonsense about I don't see color or I don't see gender,
Yeah.
right? Uh, in order to pretend they're not racist, right?
Yeah.
There's even a joke about that. There's a meme that's going around that I actually put in one of my poems. Uh, I don't see color. I don't see gender. I'm pulling a toaster by a leash because I thought it was a dog,
Oh wow. Wow.
right? So that's what happens when you go into those extremes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and this was even in the TV series Young Sheldon, where
Hmm.
Sheldon was having the younger version of Sheldon was having an existential crisis because he thought zero doesn't exist, right?
Yes.
And like, so nothing is real. but he's actually a germaphobe, right? Even at a young age, he's afraid of germs. He's afraid of chicken. So his grandmother, his Mimo, brought him, you know, this hen, right? This chicken, a real life, chicken, this hen into this rooster, right, into his room,
Yes.
and said, "I'll put this on the bed since nothing is real," right? And that's he was like, "No." Like suddenly that was real, right?
Yeah.
So people will manipulate these Buddhist concepts
Yeah.
and these Hindu concepts as well, and they won't even acknowledge where they're from. They'll call it Eastern religion or ancient ideas or whatever,
Yes.
right? And these are Hindu, like Buddhist concepts, to say, oh, racism isn't real because nothing is real. Well, in the absolute reality, everything is all good. Everything is just love,
Yeah.
right? Um, but there is a relative reality also that we must acknowledge, and that's what meditation practices helps us do, like really know the truth of both realities,
Yeah.
right? That these both the levels of things, and when you do that, you learn things like what I learned. I realized when people say, "Oh, all of this is okay," the racism, sexism, transphobia, etc., is fine because life isn't fair. But no, life is just life, right?
Yeah.
Life just is. The system is not fair, and they've conflated the two. That's another way they've manipulated the truth and created all these veils around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? To manipulate you basically into silence and inaction. This is why it's called spiritual gaslighting, right?
Mm.
Using spiritual mumbo jumbo to gaslight you into silence, right? And this is why the truth shall set you free, but it has to go beyond the whole my truth, your truth. It has to be the truth, the the true reality of both the relative reality and the absolute, and to know both, right?
Yeah.
Because the point of knowing absolute reality is not so that you ignore the realities of racism, etc., in the relative reality. The point of knowing absolute reality is to give you the strength to anchor yourself so that you realize there's something wrong with what's happening, but there's absolute reality, the love and the wisdom and the joy and the strength and the compassion, the freedom of that gives you the strength to go on despite the fact that all of these unfair systems of power in the relative reality are trying to drag you down and keep exhausting you with nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad again how you also gave, and this is why it's so important too with and how knowledge can be distorted when it comes to symbolisms and how we speak in symbolisms. And just how you gave me that imagery of how you did that of anchoring yourself down. You made me think of the movie Inception
Mm.
and how the whole concept of Inception too is before diving into the deeper recess of the mind to get at, or at this point they were trying to find, particular knowledge and things and stuff from a particular person, but they had to create an anchor and being able to know that objectively, okay, we're here present, but then at the same time in this dream, we need to anchor and put ourselves in this place. So when we know things are starting to not be what we know that they are, we know that's that anchor that brings us back up. Because if not,
Right.
we can fall so deep in to a point that now we can start thinking that, now this is really my reality. But then because we have that anchor, we can always be able to pull back and be like, to have the strength that you were speaking about.
Yeah, yeah. That movie to me is actually a metaphor for storytelling. Like you can just substitute the word dream for story,
Yeah.
and it would mean the same thing. Because there's literally a technique in storytelling called stacking realities, also known as nested loops, where you have three layers of stories. You tell a story within a story within a story, but you don't complete each story. And then in the third layer, that's when you leave the message that you want. You do the inception. Then you go back up the layers, and then you start completing each story, right? So that way, that message that you want goes deep into the unconscious, and you might not even remember that message consciously, but mysteriously, you might make a decision thinking it's your own decision, but actually it was like led into it's similar to advertising, right?
Yeah.
When like you might go to the grocery store and you mysteriously end up picking Pepsi over Coke, and you think it's your decision, but it's because but the real reason might be because you watch all those ads,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and the ads are not meant to make you buy it now. Is to commit that inception. Yeah.
The subliminals.
The
Subliminals are
subliminal. Yeah, exactly.
woo.
Yeah.
Man, that unconscious don't play. I don't know how many different times I've known that creep up on me without me even knowing. But because of me having this metaphorical anchor that I have, I'm able to read the signs a lot more. So when you keep on hearing and seeing a lot of these coincidences or stuff that you like, oh, this is making, why is this always coming up or it's coming up repeatedly? A lot of that stuff you were just unaware of it. But since now that you become aware of it, you can be able to, in sense, be able to fight back, or also be able to have a clear understanding of what's the point trying to get across. And because you're able to get that point across going into this, again, I make the question very general because of the fact that in the sense of how I see it, there is no right or wrong answer because of the fact of how multi-layered it could be. And because of this experience that we're having, we're not going to have time to be able to find all of the quote unquote right ways to go about doing it. It's really what is the ways that's going to help get to, and this is a shot to Kundan, your wholeness, as well as bring you to that full, the fullness that you're looking for in life. We say the fulfillment, we say the happiness, and it's to a point where you're learning how to teeter that line of it's not intruding on another's perceived reality to a point that is becoming detrimental to them, but at the same time being able to lend a hand while you're still in hand of growing in your own. And it's because it's so hard to be like, okay, you know what? We have the whole book of life. All right, turn to chapter 5. Now that you're at this particular age, follow exactly these instructions to the T, and this is how you're supposed to be. That's not realistic. That's not a possibility. That's not how it is. Just as we're talking about number code and how many numbers this generate. Look at, there's so many of us that I'm surprised that nobody has the same DMV driver's license wherever you are, whatever, it may not even be a DMV, whatever it is of your motor vehicles. I'm surprised that there's a multitude of different credit cards and there hasn't been no repeats of credit cards, while at the same time, your fingerprint, it's all unique. And I like to always liken it to as well to a game, because we love games, whether if it's board games or any type of game shows and stuff of that sort. But that's like equating to my level 5 may be your level 20. His level 2 might be your level 6. And you'll be like, oh yeah, man, shoot, go back and reference from your level 4 to, it's like, bro, I'm on level 2. Like, I ain't even seen
it's like the difference between Newtonian physics and Einsteinian physics, right?
Yes.
Newton's laws apply, and even that, by the way, speaking of truth, Newton's laws are called Newton's laws because that's, the narrative is always won by the victor, right?
Exactly.
He wasn't even the first person to discover those laws of motion and gravity. Hindus discovered it like 2,000 years before him, by the way. So speaking of, truth and facts, people only know this partial, that's the danger of partial facts. But anyway, so Newton's laws are true only at their classical level, as they call it. That is at their macro level, right? They call it classical physics. But when you get into the quantum level or even the bigger picture level, that's when we get into, the quantum physics where the Newton's laws break down. That's why you have Einstein's theory of relativity,
Yeah.
etc., right? So, and that's where there you need, and again, this has nothing to do with my truth or your truth. I think this is more about people know a partial truth, right?
Yes.
But they don't see the wholeness, the full truth, right? They don't see the truth, which is the full absolute reality, how it works. And by the way, like physics still has so many gaps. They're trying to find a theory of everything, and my bet is they never will because they're missing something big, right? They're still influenced by Christianity and this God level view of trying to know reality as if they're God themselves, right?
Yeah.
And this is why they're obsessed with the idea of objective reality, right? Which is why they poo-poo indigenous systems like Hinduism, because our spirituality and our science are intertwined, right? And
Yes.
the reason why we're intertwined is because we recognize that reality is subjective, that the not only are we that consciousness itself, right? So like they think consciousness comes from matter. We realize actually consciousness started first and then matter came from there, right? And therefore there can only be a subjective reality. You cannot have an absolute way of knowing objective reality with these external instruments that they keep making, right? Uh, and by the way, even that, right? If you look at the way it progressed,
Yes.
computers used to be as big as entire rooms, right? Or even entire buildings, right? And they become smaller and smaller and smaller, right?
Yeah.
Why is that? If you really think about it, ultimately, it's here. Which is why we're about to have quantum computers, right? Which are machines that create even as they compute simultaneously, right? And that's the way nature itself works, right? By the way, the photosynthesis has almost 100% efficiency, which no human machine has been able to match, right? And now they've discovered that the reason is because they're is because of quantum effects, right?
Yeah.
Where the light that goes into the chemical reactor, like there's no way it can go that fast, right? Unless it chooses all paths at once.
Yes.
And they've discovered that to be a fact.
Yes.
Right? So it's like the danger of knowing only partial facts. But even when it comes to history and politics, right? So I'm from Burma, right? So there is a whole narrative around the so-called genocide of Rohingya Muslims, right? And they're seen by Westerners as purely just victims only, right?
Yeah.
And that the military is a big evil people who is committing genocide, and they're saying the Buddhist monks are also on their side. They even have the audacity to demand that the Nobel Peace Prize be revoked from our Nobel Peace Prize winner, the freedom fighter Aung San Suu Kyi, right? All because she said both sides are in the wrong, right? That is both the military and the Rohingya Muslims, right? And that's actually the truth. And they got so mad about it, all these social justice activists, because they don't see the whole picture and they don't care to, right? What actually happened was the Rohingya Muslims created a terrorist attack against Rohingya Hindus, right? Whom the Western world doesn't even know they exist, right? But they do exist. And they did a terrorist attack. They killed the men and the children. They raped the women. And they forced them to convert into Islam. And then they kidnapped some or most of them to Bangladesh. So during all that was happening, the military was also attacked by the Rohingya Muslims. And the Myanmar military dictatorship, they retaliated, right, of course, but them being who they are, they also escalated disproportionately, and it became basically like a genocide. But what's ignored here is that the military doesn't care whether they're Muslim or Hindu. They see both of them as just Rohingya. So they're killing both, and the Rohingya Hindus are caught in the middle, where they're being attacked by both the Rohingya Muslims and the military. Right? And to make it worse, they can kind of add it to their own erasure, because they even changed their name to Chittanugas so that the military won't be attacking them. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. To make the distinction. Yeah.
Right. But that is one of the reasons why the Western world and in most of the world doesn't know. But it's also because there is a liberal media bias against Hindus in general, right? And it's a pro-Islam. That's another reason. So again, we have to be aware of our biases too when we want to know the full picture, the whole truth of something.
Yes. Yeah. And it is very hard to put away the rose tinted lens and actually step into that zone of, uncertainty.
Right. And another bias they have is the false binary of, the whole victim savior, where somebody is either purely a victim or purely a hero or purely a savior. Yeah. They're either totally good or totally bad, right? And especially against us, right? We're never allowed to be just human. We're either the peaceful monk or the savage or the thug or the monster, right? Yeah. And even if they see us as a peaceful monk, the moment we make a little mistake or we call out their nonsense, like their racism, right? That's when we fall off that pedestal and we suddenly become a savage, a fascist, a demon, a satanic, whatever they want to call us, right? So we're never allowed that middle ground of just being human.
Yes. It's easy to, again, put labels and compartmentalize.
Right. So there's no nuance in a lot of these, especially in the Western liberal media, social justice spaces, right?
Yeah.
And I keep hopping on about them because conservatives, at least they're very open and honest about being racist, right? Whereas the liberals, they pretend to be moral. They pretend to care, right? It's just like Malcolm X said, they're both the liberal and the conservatives, they both show their teeth, but one is clear that they're snarling, the other pretends to smile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Woo.
That's deep. that was heavy.
Santi, I'm telling Santi, literally, Kundan comes in, and that's why I always appreciative when Kundan comes in, is because they get dropped.
He took. I got into a rabbit hole right there. I'm not gonna lie. But,
Did you have your anchor? Did you have your anchor? But just to respect everyone's time, because I do appreciate y'all being on here, and I think we're trying to break records for some reason and being on here for like various amounts of time.
4 or 5 hours.
Yes. So, well, I think only Instagram, it only still goes up to 4, and I don't want to test it to see if it'll go past 4. Okay, so I want everybody to get well rested sleep and not be an inception of thinking you're asleep, but you are still awake. But all jokes aside,
can I say something real quick though? I think what was being stated right now is it goes hand in hand with a lot of things that we were saying prior.
Yes.
Was that people love living in a false reality, in their own false reality. People love being stuck in their own tribe, and things like that. And without realizing that they are a victim of exploitation. With what was being said, I feel like exploitation and tribalism is off the charts right now, and we don't even see it.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll leave it at that, bro, because I'm but I mean, that's my opinion. That's what I think. We are really being exploited against each other. We are really being put in a position to pick a tribe, even if you never even were part of a tribe, things like that, and it's very, very unfortunate. And I agree with the way it was said about the Western world and the way it was founded and all that. That plays a very instrumental part in where we are at now. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's the
Wow.
foundation. If a
Yeah.
foundation is faulty or
Hmm.
the foundation is built a particular way, eventually it is going to crumble if you don't
We're
do the maintenance and the work that needs to be done.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Exactly.
definitely being exploited. There's so much propaganda and manipulation everywhere. Like
Hmm.
I just read about like the truth behind the fearless girl statue, for example, that appeared facing the bull in front of Wall Street,
Yeah.
right? And the company behind it was also a Wall Street company, and they were so by making commissioning the statue, they were claiming to care about women's rights, right? And they even started creating a campaign along with that statue for gender diversity in the workplace in Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
And then if you Google Fearless Girl or even the company's name, you have to really dig deep to find the truth. You have to know the search terms, right? Because it turns out at the same time they were doing that whole statue thing, they were being sued by the female employees for the gender pay gap, for unequal pay between men and women,
That
right?
sounds about
So
right.
instead of just giving
To
equal
deflect.
pay,
Yeah.
they gave them a goddamn statue.
Right.
That's what they
Deflect.
did.
How much does
Yeah.
that statue
Symbolism.
cost?
Not as much as it was probably cheaper than paying everybody in the
Yeah.
Yeah.
statue. So yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah. And you know what's
symbolism.
even worse? Here's the kicker. This is my favorite part. So the artist that they commissioned the statue for, that artist ended up making like 3 other statues at other places, the exact statue.
Yeah.
And the company sued the artist for that because they wanted it only at Wall Street.
Yeah.
They want exclusivity.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's
See,
Isn't
hey,
that
yeah,
like wow?
you know what?
mhm.
This is why I love podcasting, man. I always say it to my guests, bro. Like, I'm here to learn, bro. Like, I'm
Yes.
here to freaking learn, because you never stop learning doing these kind of things
Yes.
ever,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And that's the beauty of it.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And speaking of the beauty of it, to wrap up for tonight, y'all, I appreciate y'all coming through. Thank you, Santi. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kundan. And before we do, I just definitely want to tap in with everyone and give your last thoughts. If you want to share, anything of yours, plugs, do all of those things. And since I know you was hot on the coals with it, Santi, I want you to go ahead. Any final thoughts for any portion of the show tonight that you want to share, and don't forget the plug at the end.
So I just want to say you never stop learning, man. Never stop learning, If you feel like you've learned it all, reset and learn it again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For me, life, that's how it is if I ever get stuck, similar to what you asked earlier, if you ever get stuck in life or whatever, what do you do? Like for me,
Yeah.
it's all about repetitions. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is. It's practice. Put life into practice, bro. Don't
Yes.
stop. You know what I mean? Don't stop practicing. And if you want to become something, I feel like you have to practice it. You have to practice it. As soon as you know it, if you're failing at it, as soon as you know it, you're going to look back and be like, dang, this is a part of me now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that individual that was learning anymore. Now it's time for me to learn this other
Yeah.
part. And you could apply that in sports, music, whatever your craft is. That's what I think. And as for what I have going on, follow me at Santi underscore 951 underscore. I have a lot of things in the work that are very podcast related. You're going to start hearing my name a little bit more come October. That's
Yeah.
where I'm at. I'm working on logos. I'm working on all kinds of things right now. And thank you, brother. I really appreciate. I love having people. I love having guests. I know I'm the guest this time, but I
Yes.
love knowing that I've met you, brother, and you're an amazing talent and an amazing
I
individual.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hmm.
And likewise. So yeah, we'll definitely tap in and keep this going. And
Hmm.
you're always welcome to come back and vibe with us on these shows because the time is ticking. I'm gonna just say that. So I've been
Okay.
doing this for a minute, and this is gonna be that very seasons that have been set in stone. So you are a part of those set in
Thank you.
stones.
Thank you, brother. And I'm definitely going to have you on mine for sure.
There it is. Exactly. All right. Moving on to the sister who uses the Webster, the Mer Webster gave us the use of that's what we got to start. That's what we anchor in ourselves to get this information. All right, Chris, final thoughts, final wrap ups. Share with us.
So you know me, I'm always gonna leave with a little, not a riddle, but little nuggets. Aspire to be the fool. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
aspire to be the wise, but don't fear being the fool.
Mm.
That's how I'm gonna sum it up. Aspire to be wise, but don't fear being the fool. Um, so yeah, we've got big things coming up over here now that I'm back in LA.
Okay.
First off, Ivy King Diaries is coming back this fall.
Let's go. Podcast.
So that's gonna be me commuting out to Vegas, connecting with Emily on a monthly basis. So look out for that. I'll be posting about it once we get back on the ground again. But our previous episodes are still up on all major platforms, Apple, Spotify, all that stuff.
No Stitcher, you guys. Stitcher is actually going out of business. So if you're on Stitcher, I'm sorry. Stitcher is going to be discontinued. It is another podcast platform for people to put their stuff up on. But yeah, sorry, Stitcher.
So that's coming up. Along with that, our skincare line, Ivy King Skincare, is also in the works. Not shea butter, winter time. We're getting ready. And then as for me and my Shutter Girls endeavors,
yes.
So right now I'm looking to collab. If anybody needs a photographer for trade for hire, I'm around. I have all my equipment. I gained so much equipment on my journey. I have all these brand new lights, or not, well, they're brand new to me, but they're used. But I have all these lights. I have cameras. I'm also working on putting a workshop together to give photography lessons as well. Okay. But I'm also available to do one-on-one lessons as well. If anybody wants to learn how to pick up a camera, any camera, and use it, I'm around. And then also for branding or sponsorship, I am available for, trade or hire, and negotiate and talk terms, if anybody's interested.
Okay. Yeah. We appreciate you. Where can they find you?
They can find me here, Alien Space Queen.
Yes.
Or you can find me on my other page, which is Chrissy K's Photography. So it's at Chrissy K's Photography. That is also the start to the Gmail. So
there
Chrissy
it is.
K's Photography at Gmail.
I'm going to make sure I post all of this. I'm going to get everyone's stuff, and I'm going to make sure I put it in the links here. That's also for my folks on YouTube and everywhere else. I got y'all.
Thanks.
And before we even go there and sum it up, again, the wealth of knowledge, a.k.a. we at the fountain of youth, the fountain of knowledge, always drops it and brings it, even with the book recommendations on deck. Got your whole library popping. Kundan, we appreciate you. What is your final wrap-up thoughts for the show?
Yeah, I missed the wise and the fool, and I wanted to touch a little bit on that and to learn the difference between being wise and being smart, and also to acknowledge that sometimes being a fool and having that innocence can be a good thing. You need that rather than being a know-it-all where you feel like you know nothing, right? And that's when you're more open to learning. That's also why some kings had the court jester, or also known as the fool, and the court jester was the only one who could get away with speaking truth to power, because everybody thought it was just a joke, or this is just a fool saying stuff, right? Whereas everybody else had to be yes man to the king, who had absolute power, right? So like that's why the king always had a court jester, right? So that he could have somebody tell him the truth instead of always trying to please him, right? So that's, so the fool archetype is as important as the sage archetype, which is the wise, right? That's as far as knowledge and truth, always be aware of your biases, your cognitive biases, learn about them, learn about confirmation bias, survivorship bias, etc., right? There's at least 24, 25 of these biases. Learn about cognitive dissonance and what that is, right?
Yeah.
There's a great comic illustrated article by the oatmeal.com
yes.
Called about cognitive dissonance. I think you just go to oatmeal.com/believe and you'll find it. And and also logical fallacies like, ad hominems, false equivalents, right?
Right.
False binaries. Learn about those, right? And then learn historical facts beyond these lies and propaganda, right? Really dig deep and learn how to use the search terms, right? To really dig deep, like I did with the whole thing, right? Is learn like then just don't believe everything at even if it sounds good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of charismatic people who will say, all the right things, everything you want to hear, but those are worse than on the outright liar, these Trojan horses and infiltrators, right? Like Obama ran on an anti-war campaign. He spoke against the Iraq War and then started 5 new wars and bombed 5 different countries and dropped 26,000 bombs on them, right? For example, right?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, as far as my plug, yeah, so I do give Akashic Records readings. I teach about boundaries and time management from a social justice perspective because time management for us racialized people is very different from those people at the center, right?
Yeah.
Because that whole statement about we have to work twice as hard to make half as much as them is actually quite true, right? Because what's known as white privilege is not really white privilege, it's racial capital. It's literally like its own type of capital. Because there are places in China where you can make like 5 or 6 figures a year just for being a white man in a suit. Like literally, look it up. There's an article called Rent a White Guy, right?
Yes.
So I do that. And another thing I do want to plug is because California is going through this whole Hindu-phobic bill, SB 403. Because of that, I want everybody to read the book Caste is Not Hindu.
Yes.
Because if this bill passes in California, it will eventually pass in every state and eventually will become a federal law.
Yeah.
And even though it harms Hindus the most, eventually it will harm everybody who is black, brown, or indigenous because the lie that they're told about Hindus, they're expanding the lie and now they're saying that caste is African, that caste is Asian, that caste is South American, which is the exact opposite of the truth. Caste is an invention of the Spanish, Portuguese, and British colonizers.
Yes.
So learn about that, learn the truth about that because it just passed all the committees in California and will now go back to the Senate for another vote because there's been a lot of amendments. And the amendments came because we Hindus fought against it. The original bill was so much worse than what it is now.
Yeah.
At least it's been defanged, but it's still kind of harmful. It's still pretty harmful. So learn about that. Really read the book. Caste is Not Hindu. That's my plug for the day.
There it is, y'all.
Yeah.
Again, I'm grateful, appreciative of everyone's time. I want to give each one of y'all your flowers for, not only just sticking around, but the openness, the knowledge, and the wisdom that was shared to create and keep continuing to build the conversation even beyond this. So thank you, Santi. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kundan, for giving that out to us. Now, for the ultimate final, for my wrap up, again, when it comes to current events, proper preparation prevents poor performance. So please be mindful that whether if it's your local shop, your local community, to the global community that's around us, it's important that we stay up to par what's going on. We need to know. Because then if we can properly prepare to help those, our loved ones, family, friends, and everyone around us. So please stay aware of what's happening around you. Second, when it comes to the wise versus the fool, it's the law of polarity. It's the Hermetic principle of polarity. They're the same. It's just all a difference in degree. It don't matter if you got a PhD, any type of that type of degree, you can hold on and have the knowledge. It's just your intention, your attitude, character, and heart that's put into it that helps you grow and change from being the fool, changing to the wise, and stepping back and forth. But it's all towards the growth and personal improvement. And lastly, does knowledge and truth truly set you free? It does. But at the same time, it can also become the same cage that you create.
Ooh.
So please be mindful of your biases, as Kundan said. Be mindful of what you look up, because there's going to be a lot of false prophets out there. There's going to be a lot of false information out there that is there to mislead. So build your awareness, build your discernment, and use all of that to set your own self, because you are the thing that's helping you set yourself free. Everything outside of you is just an addition. Everything inside is already what's there. So tap into what's inside, which is you, and use everything else on the outside to improve what is you. But other than that, y'all, appreciate y'all again. Much love. This has been another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays. Season 4 is the final season. I'm so grateful for everyone that's here. We'll catch y'all next Wednesday for another episode. You'll find out what it is. But after that, y'all, I've been A.D.V.I.S.S, from Santi, Criss, and Kundan. We'll see y'all next time.
All right.
Peace.
You guys have a good night.